Hey, are you ever going to start this podcast you've been talking about for like forever?
Do you think that anyone will actually want to listen to something like this?
What is your plan for an introduction?
Are you sure you want to talk about these topics? People usually disagree.
3 hours? Are you crazy?
Do you think you're some kind of expert or something?
Are you planning to have an intro song?
What if a bunch of people get really mad and hate you over this?
Do you even know how to make a podcast?
Are you just doing this because you like to argue with people?
Don't let this be just one more thing that you talk about doing, but never actually do.
Wouldn't it be better to do just one episode for each topic?
Stop trying to change people's opinions. Just live your own life.
Dude, people are never going to agree. Just let it go.
Is this going to be a long intro? Because if it is, I'm bored already.
Hello there. I'm glad you came back to listen to another episode of this podcast that I pour all of my heart and soul into. Well, not really. I leave some of my heart and soul for other things, but I still appreciate you very much. Before we get to the episode, I'm going to get somewhat serious on you for a minute or two. Often people will make excuses for their sins and will sometimes say, well, the Lord will forgive me, so it's okay. I would say that both of these things don't need to be true at the same time. It can be true that the Lord forgives and simultaneously true that it's not okay. The Lord does forgive, but that doesn't mean that people, circumstances, and consequences do. This is something to consider. We should be extremely grateful that the Lord will forgive us, but some people will hold a grudge against us for the rest of our lives. And if that person is a family member, this can make life extremely difficult. Even though the Lord will forgive us, the circumstances in our life on earth can change drastically because of the decisions we make and the sins we commit. Also, the consequences for our actions can be very serious and can impair our lives in major ways. I guess the point that I'm making is that just because the Lord will forgive us for the wrongs we commit, this doesn't mean there won't be pain and suffering involved, sometimes lifelong, when we commit these sins. So don't use that as an excuse. See God's mercy and forgiveness as a blessing, not an excuse. Today my guest is Ryan Schneider, an old friend from high school that I haven't spoken to in years. The paths that each of our lives took have many similarities, like becoming parents at a young age, but also many differences, like him joining the military while I became a pizza cook. We talk a lot about music, and this is probably the biggest playlist ever on this show, but we also talk about some really important issues. After talking with him, I realized that we also have very similar minds with the way we think, but even this similarity has led us to some very different conclusions. Ryan, like me, is very open to changing his mind if presented with evidence contrary to his beliefs. It was truly a lot of fun talking with him, and I hope you can gain something new from our discussion. Topics mentioned in today's episode include Bad Religion, Fleetwood Mac, Lagwagon, Drunk in Public, the band, not the practice, Rise Against, Jawbreaker, Ice Cube, Weezer, Jewel, Billie Eilish, Dr. Dre, The Interrupters, Identity Politics, John McCain, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, Racism, They-Them Pronouns, Trans Kids, Gender Affirming Care, Catholicism, the LDS Church, Intelligent Design, Evidence, the Bible, Miracles, and Harry Potter. Enjoy the conversation.
Yes, is it working now?
There it is.
I had to allow it.
Nice. Dude, you got one of them like awesome, fancy, like, singing karaoke kind of mics there.
Oh, I do audio stuff on like as a side gig, man. I'll have to tell you about it sometime. But
okay, cool, man.
Yeah, so I invested a while back, and it's not an expensive one, but it's better than the norm.
Yeah,
that you might find at Walmart, Target, stuff like that. So
right. And does my audio sound pretty decent?
You sound sexy.
Oh, whew, that's what I was going for. It's been a long time.
Is that chai?
It is. How'd you know?
Come on, I've been listening to the podcast.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yes,
I wasn't going to have chai today because I knew if I had it, that would be your chai.
Yeah, right. That's the bummer about doing the remote ones is that I don't get to make you one.
Nah, it's all good, man. So, I got some water here. I try not to have too much caffeine in the afternoon. It keeps me up all night.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah.
Hey, I never have that problem. I could drink as much caffeine as I want and still conk out as soon as my head hits the pillow.
Oh, dude.
It drives my wife nuts because she's she has a harder time falling asleep, I'm just out.
Mine fuels my anxiety and PTSD and stuff. So it's like my brain doesn't shut down at night. So I'm like, yeah, I got to shut that down.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I got to take downers or something.
Right. So,
yeah, man.
Right.
I'm going to see what happens if I make you super widescreen. Wow. It's like you're sitting in front of me.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. Part of the reason I wanted to do this was because I think that our minds think alike.
Okay.
And obviously I haven't seen you in 25 years.
Yeah.
But I just like the way that you put it out there, the way that you did this. I looked at it and went, you know what? I try to adopt that mindset. Like just yesterday, I was having a conversation with my son, dropping him off somewhere. And we were talking about, I was like, you know, he's in a situation and I won't get into it, but yeah, I said, all I'm trying to get you to do is think about it from the other person's perspective. I'm not saying you're right. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying they're right. I'm not saying they're wrong. I said, but just, you need to put yourself in another human being's shoes.
Yes.
And that's all I'm trying to do with my kids when I raise them and stuff, you know what I mean? So
yeah. And
when I heard what you have, I have 5, man. I only got one more than you.
You do have one more than me.
Yeah.
Dang, but your oldest is almost the same age. Your oldest is a girl or a boy?
A boy. So last time we saw each other in person, we were sitting in Dr. Callahan's office. And Tyler came along on the 27th of October.
Okay. And Laura was born November 11th. So it was a couple months after.
He just had a birthday.
Okay.
And he turned 25. So
25.
Your daughter will turn 25 here in November 11th then.
Yes.
Awesome.
Crazy. Nuts, man. Okay.
Yeah.
And how old is your youngest?
14 now. So he actually is almost 15. So I had them all before I was 30. I mean, we just kind of bam. Like we had Tyler, and then Kayla was born on the 9th of November in 2000. So they're about 2 years apart. And then we had about a 4-year break trying to have a child and stuff. And it was kind of rough and rough time and stuff. But anyway, he came along, and then for some reason, I just had to sit next to my wife on the couch and she'd get pregnant. I mean, you know, I was about it. So it was like every 18 months we had another child.
Yeah, that's like me. I always make that joke too. I always say, all I got to do is look at my wife and she gets pregnant. I don't know what's going on here. You know, she's very fertile.
We tried to have another girl, but we ended up having 4 boys and 1 girl. So my daughter's second in command. And then after that, it was the other 3. But yeah, youngest is 14 now, man. And it's like, he's a freshman in high school. We got a junior in high school. And the rest of them are graduated and just off in the world doing their stuff.
Yeah, so you got a little earlier. So we have the 4, but we have our youngest is also he's 13.
Okay.
We have a 13-year-old son and a 15-year-old daughter, and then my 21-year-old son and going to be 25-year-old daughter. So we have 4, but we have kind of a gap in between the first set and the second set.
Forgive me, I'm sorry. 2 girls, 2 boys?
2 girls, 2 boys. Yeah.
Lucky man.
Yeah.
But then again, I don't know, because I only have 1 wedding to pay for. So
there you go. I don't know. We've already done 1 and we didn't pay for a whole lot of it. So
honestly, I told her the same thing. I said, wait a minute, you guys are in a progressive society now. You don't want to.
Yes.
You don't want to pay for everything, right?
That's
Women's rights and all that stuff. Like,
that's right. Let's take feminism to its real conclusion there, right? You know?
Really what it comes down to is it's like, hey, we're still young and we're planning for our future now. Like at this point, like I'm trying to set us up because I'm in my second career. And so it's like everything lines up just fine. We'll be 64 when I'm done.
Nice.
And I'm like, hey, that like I'm preparing for that now because the military, we didn't save a thing.
Yeah.
we live paycheck to paycheck.
So you're working other than military right now? Doing something else? Okay.
So I retired from the Air Force in 2019, January 2019. Had enough time off saved up, what we called leave, and had about 3 months saved up. So I didn't have to work for 3 months. I did though. I went right back to work. I had like a 2-week break.
Okay.
Anyway, but yeah, I've been retired now for about 5 years, and now just got the job of my dreams. I didn't even know I needed it, but nice. I work marketing for the Air Force, but on the civilian side.
Okay.
So now I do that. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. And I'm really, really fortunate that I got that position. I've been there about a little over a year now. And man, I'll tell you, best job I've ever had.
Yeah. That's really cool, man. So that's awesome. And you're near Dallas, Texas, you said, or Houston?
I'm in San Antonio.
Oh, so San Antonio.
Yeah, so you got Dallas up north, you got San Antonio down to the south, and then you got Houston over to the east. So it's kind of this triangle.
And then where does Austin fit in there?
Austin's just about an hour north of us. It could be as little as 25 minutes if there's no traffic, but it could be an hour, 2 hours if it's bad traffic. So
okay,
yeah, we're severely impacted here in San Antonio. So
my wife's parents lived in Austin not in Austin. They lived in Elgin, which is like a little suburb of Austin.
Yeah.
And then I have some other friends that are up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So
you ever come out here?
We do. Yeah. We still have not been to San Antonio. We always said
that's not much here.
No.
We have the Alamo. You go to the basement, see Pee Wee Herman's bicycle.
Yes, right. Yeah. There's no basement at the Alamo. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've talked about going there. But we've been to Texas. Yeah, quite a bit. We've driven. Most of the times we've driven. We've flown a few times, but I like the drive, except New Mexico. I'm not a big fan of New Mexico. I don't know.
Northern New Mexico's nice, I hear.
I'm sure that's what I keep thinking to myself. There's got to be
like Northern Arizona. Right. Northern Arizona, they get snow. Flagstaff.
Yeah, Flagstaff's awesome. Yeah. We drove through there. We drove through. We stayed in Amarillo.
Okay. Yep.
And that's where they have the
hot air balloons.
But they have the cars that are sticking up out of the sand.
Oh yeah. It's like Stonehenge, but Carhenge or something.
Yeah. It's this big old. So we went out this last time. One of the last times we were there, we decided to go check that out, and it was cold, dude. It was. I mean, we're from California, Southern California, so cold to us is like really cold. Yeah, dude, it was freezing. My kids were crying, but we're like, all right, we're here. We got to get out here to get the picture taken. And we're walking and the wind's just miserable, dude. It's like blowing us back and it's like ice. And it's just like, we're just freezing to death. And we got out there, got a couple pictures, hustled back in the car. We're walking back to the car. Here comes another family walking towards it. Their kids are crying. It's like, come on, kids, it's supposed to be fun.
Oh,
yeah, but it was pretty cool to see. But I just wish the weather was. Maybe we'll have to go back when the weather's a little better. But
we're honestly, I'd say we're acclimated to Texas at this point because it was like 60 yesterday, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's freaking freezing. Yeah, you know what I mean? 70s,
right?
Like if it hits like mid 70s, I'm like, I need a jacket. So I mean, I guess
Well, how cold does it get for you guys? Like in the wintertime?
It'll get. I mean, honestly, we actually let's see here. What is this? 2023? I think. January of 22, earlier this year, I thought we got snow. And I can't remember if it was this year or last year. Now I'm talking about a dusting. You know what I mean? Because we've lived in South Dakota. We've lived in New Jersey. Ugh. We've gotten whiteouts. We've been in like 4 feet of snow before. And so that to me, I'm just like, okay, this is ridiculous. But again, people don't know how to drive around here and it's impacted. And so they shut the state down. Mm-hmm. But we lost power for a few days. There was tons of people in Texas that lost it for like a week. And the only thing that kept us going was we have a gas fireplace. Ooh, and it got down in the teens, it was like 13 degrees, which is cold anywhere you go. But for Texans, it's like normally that's like 90 degrees cooler than we're used to. Right. So that's a lot. So like when we bought this house, I remember thinking I was like, fireplace? Like I don't need a freaking fireplace. It's Texas. And now I'm looking at it. I'm going, you know what? It's safe because for like 3 days, we didn't have any power and we have a gas fireplace. So the gas was on, lit that sucker. And it's the only thing that kept us warm. Okay. So, I mean, we had jackets and so we didn't make it. Right. Well,
thanks for the images. I appreciate the images.
Yeah, man. I mean, it is, this is an alternative to, shaving your body hair off. You just stand in front of the fire for a minute.
There you go, man.
Melts off. It's great.
Just burns down, dude.
It smells great.
Yeah. Dude, that's one of the worst smells in the world is burning hair. It is. Yeah, and I mean, not that I've ever the only time it ever happened to me, like when I work at a restaurant and I'm like going in to get like the spaghetti sauce that's still cooking. Like I used to work at Arnaldi's and you'd have to get the meatballs out of there, right? And it was like, and I just smelled this. What is that? It just come out of nowhere. I was like, what is that smell? And then I'd realize that like all these hairs on my arms were all curly, like they curled up. I was like, oh, I burned my arm hairs off. Okay.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Oh, I love that you say Arnaldi's, and I know exactly.
Yeah, I figured you'd know there.
The rolls and everything, the giant. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Did you ever work there or no?
No, but we went there a couple times when I was a kid. The one in Norfolk, Old Orchard. Well, that was the only one, right?
Yeah, it's a one. It's one place. They opened one down near Del Taco in Santa Maria for a short while, but that didn't last long. Yeah, that one right there next to Jack's is still there.
That was a good place, man.
Yeah, it's called Patricio's now, but it's still. Is it? Pat Arnaldi still is there, and he's still pizzas are still the same and the dough's still the same and the whole deal.
Nice. But you know what? As it should be, because I mean, it's a staple, you know?
Yeah, dude. Yeah. My cousin who moved up to Washington State, whenever he comes to visit now, we always plan a night where we're going to get Arnoldi's, you know, just because like you got to get the best pizza on the planet,
absolutely.
you know? So
I don't know though. Now I've been to New York. We lived in Jersey and I worked in Lower Manhattan.
Okay.
It's not the best pizza, Arnoldi's. I mean, it's good.
New York has got it, huh?
Gosh. Well, and I'll be honest, I have yet to have a true deep dish slice from Chicago. That's the only pizza I haven't had. And of course, I've heard pizza in Italy's crap, but I've never been to Italy. So, but I'll tell you, there's this place. If you ever get to New York City, New York Penn Station, the subway there's a place called Rose's. All right. And best slice of pizza I've ever had.
Really?
Oh my God.
So
they do
this
this like lightly deep fried eggplant. And I swear to you, when I had it the first time, I thought it was like this thin sliced sausage, almost like Euro meat.
Okay.
Oh my God. When I asked him, I was like, what is this anyway? I was like, it's very lightly spicy. Is this Euro meat? And he goes, no, it's eggplant. And I was like, no way, man. Yeah. And he goes, yeah. I was like, favorite pizza, hands down. Nice. So this is what I'll tell you. It's the water. Everybody says it's the water, how they make the dough. It's the water that they use. It's got like salt, you know, I don't know if they're taking it right out of the Hudson or what, but
yeah, it's the sewer water, man.
Maybe, but I'll tell you what it does is if you've ever had a piece, it's not thick, right? Okay. I mean, so take like, you know, Giovanni's is really close where it's got that chewiness to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they do it in such a way that it's just got this light, crispy, almost like a perfectly toasted piece of sourdough. So it's like it crunches, but then it gives and it's got that chewiness to it. And then there's just this little bit of salt you could taste in the dough. It's just
dude.
Like, oh my gosh.
So it's the dough. It's the dough that makes it.
Dude, hands down.
Okay.
Hands down. Because the rest of it's just ingredients that are sitting there all day, you know, out in the, you know, under the heat lamps and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but I mean, they do it by the slice too. They got these giant stone brick ovens and stuff, and they're just sliding them in as you order them.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God, it's good.
Yeah, I gotta get. I still have never been to New York in my whole life. I got to get over there someday.
One of the best food meccas ever. Yeah, honestly.
I bet.
And we lived on base out there at Joint Base McGuire Dix Lakehurst. It's a big combined base, and we were right smack dab between New York City and Philadelphia, and it was just like, oh my, some of the best food I've ever tasted in that area. Amazing. So, and I like being down here because it's changed. Like when we were in San Antonio from 07 to 10, the food was okay. It was like, we got some chains and stuff like that, but they have really brought in a lot of stuff from outside the state of Texas. And now the state of Texas is like, it's, you know what, if you know where to go, it's good. Okay. But most of it is like Tex-Mex, you know, like, and it's like, it's okay. But there's a couple of places, couple places where you go around here where it's like, it's like, is it La Simpatia out in Guadalupe?
Oh, I don't know.
I forget the place out in Guadalupe, but where they're out there and they're mixing the beans. They get their gals up on the counter, smashing them in the big pot. Yeah, it's like that. Authentic. There's a couple places out here where they do it. And if you can find the spots that like do the homemade tortillas right there. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. But I'll tell you what's popping up a lot in a lot of places, I'm sure, but food trucks. And you get these mom and pop food trucks that are just, dude.
Oh, yeah. We got those all around here now, too. There's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of them, even like my wife's got a couple of friends that own two different ones, actually. That these guys that used to work with her, and one's like a barbecue. It's called Barbecue in the Sticks. And it's got, dude, you get like a tri-tip sandwich from there. It's barbecue. Like, so good.
I don't want to talk about, you know what? This is, I changed my mind. Because that's the one thing you can't find it anywhere is tri-tip. Yeah. I mean, tri-tip is Santa Maria. That's it. Right. The people out here, they're like, hey, check out this tri-tip. I was like, what is that? Half a pound? Get out of here with that. You know, like,
well, Texas is brisket, right?
It is brisket.
Yeah.
It is.
It's a big thing there.
And it's good. But I'll tell you, like you find the only place I ever found tri-tip like Santa Maria that wasn't in Santa Maria was in Arkansas.
Really?
And it was because, it was my first assignment in the Air Force. And my mom told me, she's like, hey, I was at the store the other day. I was talking to, I don't know how she found this person, but it was a butcher that had family at Vandenberg and was living out there for a while and learned how to do tri-tip and do it right. And then he relocated back to Arkansas.
Nice.
And right down the street from the base. And she said that he was visiting his family, talked to this, she talked to him. And my mom was like, he's right outside the gate. Just go out the gate, turn right, go down the street. And I found the guy, and it was, oh my gosh, dude. Yeah. He knew how to do it.
Well, that's genius, really, because then you can bring something back to where you're living that no one else is doing. So you set yourself apart as something unique.
Yeah, I can't find good tri-tip out here though. People claim that they have it, and you get it, and it's dry, and it's it's not moist. It's just like, what did you get? What is it? And then the fat, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like they don't do it open,
right?
Indirectly and get the fat off the bottom. They leave it on there, and it's like a brisket where you just got all this fat, throughout it, and it's like that's not what's making this work.
Yeah, it's the same cut, but it's like they just cook it wrong.
Yeah, it makes me sad.
Yeah. Do you remember back when we were kids? Did you grow up in San Maria area, or I don't remember how old?
So we moved there when I was 2 from Florida. Okay. My dad was in the Air Force before me, and we moved there. I grew up. Actually, I went to Adams School for the first little bit, and then I moved to Patterson after that. When I started, I think I did preschool down there, but when I was 4, we moved to Orchid, right around the corner from Patterson Road School.
Okay.
So yeah, pretty much my whole life.
So do you remember driving down Broadway on the weekends? There'd be a barbecue going every couple blocks, and you just roll down your windows and you're like, oh,
yeah.
So good.
Every few blocks they had the fundraisers, and they had the big toe behind barbecue pits with the oak, and my God. Yeah, I miss that. Good, that part I miss.
Oh, so good.
So
you graduated in 97, right?
Yep. Year after you.
Okay. So I have another friend who is also graduated the same year as you from Rigetti, and he went in the Air Force also.
I probably know him.
Yeah. Chet
Cooper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know that I didn't know he was in the Air Force.
Yeah.
But I knew Chet.
Okay.
So
he just retired. He just retired from the Air Force.
So he went a little longer than me.
A couple months ago. Oh yeah, he was a lifer. He did, his dad. His dad was a lifer in there too, and went all the way.
I did 20, and then that was it. I was like, I'm done. Did he go right away though? Did he wait?
I don't know. All I know is he was doing stuff that I wasn't allowed to ask about.
I had
he had top secret kind of stuff he was doing. You remember what Chet looked like, right?
Something.
Chet was red hair, kind of freckle, like white boy as you can get, right? He ended up learning fluent Chinese.
Oh, so he was doing intel then.
Yeah. But I'm like, who would suspect,
or he was a linguist?
Who would suspect that guy? That guy. There's no way that guy knows Chinese.
I have to say that's one of the beautiful things about the military that I think people discount is a lot of times you think, oh, I'm going to join, and because I used to be a recruiter, and people would think that, oh yeah, you're going to join, just going to make me whatever, and it's like, yeah, but it's that, but not that.
Right.
What other place says, does IBM or Apple bring you in and have you take a bunch of aptitude tests and say, we think you'll be really good at this? No, you go after what you think you're good at.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you take somebody like Chet and you do the aptitude and you go hey, we really think you'd be really good at this.
Right.
And then they try it out and then look at, they do 20 years and they're amazing.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Crazy.
There's a couple other people that went to the Air Force. So one kid, I think, graduated with you. I'd have to look him up in the yearbook. His name was Mark something. He was a little bit shorter. I can't remember his name, but Mark, I want to say his last name started with a K, but he was in my flight. He went through basic training.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And then I want to say he was friends with Billie Fredland, because when I left to go to MEPS and leave for the Air Force, Billie was at the airport saying goodbye to Mark.
Oh, okay.
And then years later, you know what? Josh Morse. Remember Josh Morse?
I do.
He's dating. Oh, he's married to Hannah Nunez. Well, she was Hannah Nunez. She's Hannah Morse now. Josh went the same time as I did, and I didn't know him, but I knew his face. So when we got to basic training and he's sleeping a few bunks down from me, I'm like, dude, we ended up going to technical school together. Oh man, I got a story about him. So we go through technical school. We're in Wichita Falls, Texas. I'm only there for 5 weeks. He's there for longer. He's going for HVAC. So he's an HVAC tech. And that was 99.
Okay.
And years later, I'm talking 2011. I hadn't seen him. I hadn't talked to him. And of course, you go through MySpace and Facebook and you're not really keeping in touch with people because up to that point, you didn't have social media. 2011, I'm in San Francisco at a nurse convention recruiting nurses for the Air Force. And I walk into just a random bar, and Josh Morse is sitting there drinking with a bunch of other dudes. Like, what are you doing here? And like, we pick back up like nothing. He was in basic training with me. Years later, when I was in Little Rock Air Force Base in Arkansas, I go to a commander's call where we get together and they're talking. And Jason Tricky, who was, I think, a year behind me.
Yeah, I remember Tricky.
Sitting across from me. And
really?
I'm like, what are you doing here? And he's like,
how funny, dude.
Got stationed here. I'm just going, dude, what the
Yeah, isn't that crazy when you bump into like that? Yeah, that always trips me out. Like when I'm out of town somewhere, like I'm in another state. Yeah. And then I bump into somebody. It's like, what are the odds on that? That, we're in another state. And we just happen to go to the same restaurant or the same gas station or whatever, it's just like, it's crazy.
I was like, what are the odds of me running into Josh Morse at a bar and all the bars in San Francisco on that night that we just happened to be there. And he was like, oh, I'm in town. He was stationed at Vandenberg. And I think, and he was like, oh, I'm just here for the 49ers game or some, I don't know, some
he was just there for the night.
He was just there for the night. And he was like, yeah, we stay at this hotel that's right above this bar because they're vet friendly and everything else. And I'm like, well, we just came to this bar because it looked cool.
Yeah.
And it was just, super weird, man. Is this the podcast, by the way? I know
this is, man.
Am I holding you up?
No, dude, we're good. Right, I usually like, especially if it's somebody I haven't talked to in a while. I kind of like to catch up a little bit, and then I
know you do like an hour per topic, so I figured the first hour might
give
be
or take. I mean, you'll see that some of the episodes are 3.5, some are 4. It just I don't want to try
some of the most recent ones. Yeah,
put a crunch on it.
4 hour mark.
Yeah, it's like whatever. But yeah, we'll jump into music. So I already know you're a music guy. You're a music guy.
Yeah, well.
Because that's one of the things I do remember about us hanging out back in the days. We were
well. I can tell you that the one thing that I know we have in common is Bad Religion for sure. I mean, you were listening to I think Gray Race. When we went to Taco Bell that one time.
Yeah, you posted. I remember you said that, and I was like, I have no recollection of that at all. But it fits. It makes sense. I mean,
oh no, man, it was good times.
So what was that like in high school? Still?
Oh yeah, it was high school. I think you were probably a senior. I was a junior, and. That's about the time I think Gray Race came out, but I remember you playing it, and like I don't know where my head was at because, well, I mean, again, we didn't have Spotify, you weren't streaming, so like you heard about the records coming out by chance. Yeah. If you went to freaking Sam Goody or Cheap Thrills or somewhere and
City
heard about it. Yeah, Circuit City.
That's where I used to get all my music from. So.
Yeah. But I mean, like if you were lucky, you might see that the album came out. You usually didn't hear about it unless somebody else, but you played it for us. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like I have to get this album. So
yeah. Okay. Nice, man.
Yeah.
All right. So I usually start with the earliest. We'll go back. We'll get back to we'll
how far back do you really want to go?
I want to know
because I read your email.
Okay. No, just like
and I have the answers.
The first time you ever remember thinking to yourself, I like this song. I like this band.
Fleetwood Mac. Okay. I was probably 3 or 4 years old.
Nice. What was the song?
God, I don't even know, man. I literally.
Was it Stevie Nicks vocals or Buckingham vocals, or do you remember?
Hold on, it's coming to me.
All right.
I don't know. Nah, I don't know. But that was the first, and I'll tell you why. My mom was teaching me how to clean the house.
Okay.
And we lived in an apartment off of New Love downtown.
Ooh, that's the
Oh yeah.
You grew up thug life.
We were in a good part of town. Right there behind Betty's Fabrics and everything.
Yeah, man.
But I know that I was sub 4 years old because my brother came along in 83, 84 actually.
Okay.
And I mean, we're 4 years apart. And as soon as he came along, we moved to Orchid very, very, very soon after. And he wasn't in the picture yet, but I remember specifically my mom teaching me like how to dust and move things around the house, like move stuff when you're dusting and stuff. And she'd be playing music while we were cleaning.
Right.
And it was Fleetwood Mac because years later when she played it again, I was like, why do I know this? She goes, I used to play this all the time for you when you were, younger, and we'd be cleaning the house together. Yeah. Just being you while Dad was at work. But that was my earliest memory of music, man.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's funny. So Fleetwood Mac is a band that, I mean, obviously I hear some of the songs now and I remember them from back in the day because they're the 70s was probably when they were the biggest. But
yeah,
I just in the last 5 years started getting into them, like actually getting their albums and listening to the old. Yeah, because I love the older music. I was like, I feel like they just don't really make stuff like that anymore. So if you want to listen to it, you have to go back in the vault and get bands you've never really heard everything by before, and then start there.
Yep.
You know,
you do.
But it's funny because
you see
remember.
Go ahead. I was going to say, you get to see the, when you do that, you see the evolution of how things are shaped and where, influence comes from.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's awesome. No, I was just going to say that, if you remember the song Dreams that came out, a couple of years back, they had a thing where that song was number 1 on iTunes.
Yeah.
In like 2021 or something. And it was like, how is a song from like 74, 75, whenever that came out, number 1 on iTunes? And I kind of looked into it, and it's because there was some viral YouTube video where some guy was riding a skateboard, and he's like holding a boombox or something, and that song is playing, and the video just blew up. So all these kids are like, "Oh, what's this new song? This song is great!" So they all start downloading it off of YouTube, or off of iTunes.
Like the Stranger Things episode when they rehashed Metallica, and all these kids thought Metallica was. It's like, come on, you guys.
Exactly like that. Yes.
Wasn't it just last week you told us our music sucked?
Yeah.
We were just old.
Right. Exactly.
What really blew my mind as I was listening, same thing. And we like to listen to vinyl and stuff. And we were listening to Aerosmith, and that I believe Dream On 71.
Yeah.
That and then you go like, wait a minute, why is Steven Tyler still alive? What's going on with that?
Yeah. Yeah. That was their first big single. And what's funny about that is for years, I had no idea that was Aerosmith.
Yeah.
Because Steven Tyler sounds so different in that song.
Yeah.
And I was like, did Aerosmith have a different singer when they first started or something? And I looked it up. I was like, nope, it's Steven Tyler. It's like crazy.
I mean, I know you're still listening to Bad Religion, but you listen to Greg Graffin on the first album. Like, how could hell be any worse?
Oh yeah.
And they're in high school. You know what I mean? And it's just like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
Blows your mind.
Yeah. So, and then they got more melodic later on.
Gosh, yeah.
But
that was my first. That was my first album. My first. That was what turned me.
Well, which one? How could it be any worse?
No, was Suffer.
Oh, Suffer.
That was the one that turned. I mean, that was Bad Religion is what turned me. It and gave me a different path. So up to that point, I obviously listened to a lot of stuff, that my parents did and everything. Very eclectic taste because of them, I think. But third grade was when I think I had been listening to the radio a lot. And as a kid, I always had music going all the time. Like if it was a rainy day, I was doing my G.I. Joe puzzle and listening to the radio.
Yep.
And it was at that time, probably I remember MC Hammer. I mean, Vanilla Ice. I mean, Queen, Led Zeppelin, anything that was on the radio I was listening to. And then I got into this Paula Abdul kick and had this infatuation with her because oh my God, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And then
I think we all had a crush on her back in the 80s.
And then I had a heavy influence on rap and stuff because in third grade, my friend Chris Chabot turned me on. Well, he goes by Chris Belland now. Yeah. And he asked me, of all the people in our class, he was like, hey, let's do the talent show, man.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, what are we going to do? And he's like, let's sing DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. Parents just don't understand.
Nice.
So we did that song. And I mean,
who did the rapping?
We did. He and
Both
I took turns on the verse. Yeah.
Okay.
He took a verse and I took a verse and talk about
awesome.
Nerves, man. Third grade. But that was radio, anything, rap, that kind of thing. We started playing around, and his brother had a drum set. His family was very heavily into music.
Oh yeah.
But that was a huge influence on me having that. And then it was fourth and fifth grade was Guns N' Roses, Metallica was starting to really kind of surface for me. Poison, Megadeth, Slayer, anything like that. And then fifth grade, Johnny Homan.
Oh, dude.
Wasn't
he? He was your best friend, wasn't he?
Oh yeah. Yeah. For a long time. But he dropped Suffer on my desk and he's like, you need to listen to this tonight. He's like, it's gonna change you. He's like, so I did. I went home and I listened to it and I was just like, I was in bed and I was the kid that I had a Walkman. I was very fortunate. My parents afforded a Walkman for me. And I would listen to my tapes at night. Like I used to listen to like Motley Crue, Kickstart My Heart at night to fall asleep. So like Caffeine for You, where you can just go and not, you're fine. I would listen to like that kind of thing, rock and roll, going to sleep.
How funny.
But when he put Suffer on my desk at school and let me borrow that was it, man. I was like, cause it took, Metallica to another level. It took Guns N' Roses and Poison to another level. And it was just
yeah,
that's, I mean?
Yeah. And as I'm sure you know, but I mean, that's the band that got me into punk rock too. Yeah. Because I had never heard any of that until I went to see Pearl Jam play in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco. And
dude, I heard you say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was listening to the pods and I was like, Bad Religion open for Pearl Jam?
Yeah. Like, well, what? it was like Stranger Than Fiction had just come out.
Yeah.
So it was like kind of the height of when Bad Religion kind of went mainstream, and everybody says, they kind of started with Recipe for Hate. I think that's when they signed to like Atlantic or something.
When did you hear them? Were you in high school already?
Yeah, I was in high school. So it had to have been 93, 90. I think it was 94 because Pearl Jam's Vitalogy had just released.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And we went to see them because I the grunge stuff is what got me out of hip hop. That's all I used to listen to was hip hop. Yep. And that kind of gangster rap kind of stuff. And then when Pearl Jam came out, that sucked me in. Yeah. And then my parents got me tickets to see me and Chet Cooper. He was there, dude. Trip out. I'm just realizing that that's so Chet went with me to that show.
Yeah,
in San Francisco, and we were watching some band called Crash and Britney played first, and then Bad Religion comes out, and just blew my mind, And there's a lot of Bad Religion fans who be like, "Oh, you came in during the Stranger Than Fiction era, that's whatever." No, but I went home after that show, and I went to Circuit City, and I bought every single Bad Religion album that they had in there, like all of them. Nice. So when I started listening to Bad Religion, it wasn't like I had a real progression. I was just like, I don't even know what came out when. I'm listening to the 80/85 stuff, which is real hardcore, kind of more punky stuff. And then I'm listening to Recipe for Hate and, some of the more melodic stuff. And it's like, oh, this doesn't even sound right. Oh, that's because they're like 20 years apart in recording. It was just, So for me, Bad Religion started it all for me too. And then it wasn't until I got into that's when I started buying like Epitaph Records compilations, that I got into like No Effects, which led me into like Fat Records compilations. And so I started hearing all these Fat bands, all these Epitaph bands. And to this day, I like everything. Yeah. But to me, there is nothing better than just awesome 90s skate punk. It is just by far the best genre.
Still
of music.
My favorite. Yeah. Honestly, I've seen Bad Religion. I've seen them in, I think first time I ever saw them, I want to say was Santa Barbara.
Okay.
And I saw him at Cal Poly.
Oh, dang.
I've seen him in Philadelphia.
Okay.
I've seen him in Austin.
Dang, dude. You've seen him a bunch of times.
I want to say I saw him in LA at one point too, but I can't remember.
Okay.
But it's been a few times. And I mean, being in fifth grade and listening to that, and then kind of, still hanging on to like Guns N' Roses and stuff, because you've got like when Terminator 2 came out, you had the Use Your Illusion albums.
Yep.
And those were okay for me, but they kind of missed a little bit. It was like there was so much that there was only a few songs that I could really jive with.
Right.
But then you had like this gangster era that came out with like NWA and stuff like that. And, then you had this whole, gosh, why can't I think of the guy that did it? But the Regulator song.
Oh, Warren
G. Yeah. So that was big, during that time. And of course, everybody in junior high at the time was wearing the Raider jackets and stuff. All thought they were cool.
Yeah. The parkas, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. But when I got to high school, I mean, I was still hanging on to all these roots and stuff.
Yeah.
When I got to high school, the first concert I went to was in Lompoc at the Lompoc Theater on the corner of H and Ocean. Yeah. It was Lagwagon.
Nice.
And now get this, dude, Lagwagon and, God, what was, Youth Brigade. And then there was one other one that came up from LA. And for whatever reason, like there was this like oh, there's all these Nazis coming up and they're big and bulky and
No.
ripped, and they're going to be wearing like no shirts with thin suspenders and stuff. And like,
Yeah.
And I just remember like, I got to get in that mosh pit.
Nice.
You know? But Lagwagon, dude, that was like right when Trashed was about to launch. So Duh had come out.
Yeah.
And Trash was about to launch. And
Dude.
it was just like, I don't even know if at that time Lagwagon had signed with anybody yet.
Well, they must have, because Duh was actually released on Fat Records. Duh was the first release on Fat Records.
Okay, then they had already.
That wasn't a No Effects release. Like, they released a bunch of No Effects 7 inches and EPs and stuff, but Lagwagon was the first band they signed.
And it had to have been.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I gotta do this too, because I don't even think I have it within reach right now, but I want to like find it wherever I put it. But oh, dude, I really, if I take a break, I'm gonna go looking for it. But I gotta pull this thing out and show you. Actually, let me look and see if it's in this drawer.
Go for it. Go for it.
But while I'm doing that, real quick, down in, you know where Food for Less was?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right there in the little cubby, when you're looking at Food for Less to the left, there was a record store there. What was the name of that place?
Record Outlet.
Okay, Record Outlet.
Record Outlet. Yep. In fact, if you go back on this season, I have a guy named Frank Hayes on the show, and he's the guy that used to run that store.
Give me a second. I'm going to look in my closet here. I have to show you this.
Can't find it.
All right. It's killing me because it's been on my desk for probably 5 years, and I'm like,
what is it?
It's a cassette tape. And I bought a transfer tool so you could put it in the cassette, but you can digitalize it. It's Drunk in Publix.
Oh, no way.
Not Punk and Drublic from No Effects, but Drunk in Public. Green, like construction paper. They printed it and they were selling it at Record Outlet. And I bought it. And I even had their vinyl. They had like a little 7-inch there, and I bought it. And it had like the original recording of like Heidi and everything. Yeah. So I've been telling myself, oh, dude, like make it digital before the tape doesn't work anymore. And I now I'm looking around at my office and I'm going like,
so anyway. They were local, right? Were they Lompoc band or were they?
Oh yeah. I believe they might've come out of Galita, like Lagwagon did, but they were local, great music. Yeah. And they did have another album later that is on Spotify and iTunes and stuff. You can find it. I want to say it's called Accelerator or something, but anyway, nothing beat that first album though that I got on tape, and I was just like, oh man, gotta make a recording. That's awesome. Anyway, I don't know where we're going with that.
Yeah, well, we were talking about Lagwagon, and that led into that. But
oh, dude, yeah,
you know, Lagwagon. I still to this day I've never seen Lagwagon live.
Oh. I saw them then and then maybe one other time later at the theater before they stopped doing shows there, because I think somebody busted their head open or something. Like,
which one?
They were, at the theater, because it was an old movie theater and the mosh pit area was so small. People were getting jacked up because there was all these like theater seats at the front and people were getting thrown into them. I'm like, I almost got my nose broken there one time. And it was kind of brutal. But
who'd you used to go to shows with, like Johnny?
No. So dude, get this, like, I remembered that show, and then I don't remember who I went with to any of the other ones until later on. And I was going to, Bad Religion a lot more. But the first show I ever went to, first concert, Lagwagon, Youth Brigade, and Ill Repute.
Oh, okay.
The group.
Nice.
So, excuse me, they were there, but I think Youth Brigade brought all the Nazis up. That's what people were saying. But I went with Jonathan Pangburn.
Okay.
Because him and James Lawrence used to be like heavily into like circle jerks and stuff like that. But we kind of hung out for a little, anyway, them and then Lauren Nunez. She's Lauren Kaufman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I couldn't remember. And like, I had spaced out who was there until she was like, I went with you and I wore my white jeans because I thought it'd be cool and I'd look all hip in my white jeans. And I was like, okay, I don't remember that, but like I was trying to remember. I remembered that she was there, but I couldn't remember Jonathan was there, and she reminded me that it was Jonathan.
Was she dating one of the guys there or something? Like what?
No,
she wasn't a punk rock chick.
We're really good friends. Like her and I go all the way back to junior high school.
Oh, okay.
And we were really good friends. I dated one of her friends in high school, I think 8th grade. Okay. But Lauren and like our moms were friends. We got introduced at some point, and like we've just been pretty inseparable for most of our lives, in the sense that like I could call her right now and we just pick up like nothing. And we talk pretty frequently. I'd probably say like 3-4
Yeah.
Every 3 or 4 months.
She's still local, right? I feel like I see her around every once in a while.
No, she's still there in Santa Maria.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
That's
and
awesome.
I, last time I came out was it was February of 2020, right before COVID kicked off, I think.
Okay.
And I saw her then, but that was the last time I was in Santa Maria.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
But been to a lot of shows.
Yeah, dude. You've outdone. I mean, most of the shows I've been to were at Ventura Theater.
Yeah.
That's the other I've seen the Bad Religion the one time in Golden Gate, and then I saw them again. Yeah. I think somewhere around, it must have been like 99, 2000. I think I saw them in Ventura Theater.
Okay.
And I saw lots. That's where I saw most of my shows, like because the Fat Tour would come through there. I saw I've seen a bunch of different bands there. I
didn't see them until 2003. That was the first time.
Okay.
Like I just hadn't had the opportunity younger. Like I don't think I ever went to, I mean, local shows, cool, but Bad Religion never really played.
No.
Like locally enough. It was like LA mostly. And then when they finally came to, actually, I think Cal Poly was the first place I saw him in late 02, early 03. And that was where I went and saw him. And then I saw him in Santa Barbara like a year later.
Okay.
And they had Rise Against.
Ooh.
And that was back when they were still very screamy.
Right.
On their early albums, but it was still really good music. And then when they had their big hit single that came out, Give It All or whatever, I think is the name of it. That one really opened the door for me for them. And I started listening to some of their older stuff. And I was like, a lot of it is really good.
Yeah, so, I really like Rise Against, but I was a big fan of 88 Fingers Louie, which is what that band morphed out of.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I've heard them from the compilations of the Fat Record stuff. But,
well, it's funny because that's like a band that I think maybe they had one actual full length release because they were breaking up constantly. Like they would get together, they record a 7-inch record or an EP, and then they break up. And then 2 years later, they get back together and they record, and then they break up. So it's like the whole collection. You can take all the songs they've recorded, probably put them all on one 78-minute disc, and that would be their entire discography right there, in one album. But yeah, it's really good stuff.
I've listened to everything. Probably the least amount of music I've listened to is probably country. Okay. But I've taken on everything else, and being in some of the biggest major cities in the U.S. just for being in the Air Force and stuff, we've had some really awesome opportunities to see some big names and stuff all over the place. But I mean, I think, and there's research that supports this. When we hit our 40s, we start to reminisce a lot about our younger years and stuff. And for me, like you, like Bad Religion never left. But what these new platforms, Spotify, and some of the other ones that have done for us is they've started to open this door and you make connections. So like I started listening to Millencolin a lot.
Oh, nice.
Found a band years ago called the Gamuts, but they literally had like an album and then they broke up, and they were like really, look them up sometime. The Gamuts are really good.
GAMITS?
And then I found, do you remember, oh gosh, why can't I think of the dude's name? I'm going to have to look it up here. It was another one of those bands that didn't have a lot of albums out.
Okay.
But really, really good from that era that, when we were in high school and stuff. Let me see if I could find them. I know you talked about AFI. I thought that was kind of funny because I felt the same way when you were talking about that.
Yeah.
Let's see if I could find these guys real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, I had a chance to, I was going to go see Flogging Molly the other day, but I didn't.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I was kind of bummed. Started listening to Good Riddance again.
Oh, see, classic.
Jawbreaker. Oh my gosh, dude. Did you ever hear of them?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so they were during one of the mid-90s skate videos, Chris Sen had one of their songs, and it featured like during it this clip of Empire Strikes Back where Darth Vader and Boba Fett are talking right after they're torturing Han Solo in Cloud City.
Okay.
And back then they didn't put any of the credits. Like dude, I walked in to record outlet and I was like, can you listen to this and tell me who this is? And they could not tell me. Years later, I was in the Air Force. I was stationed up in South Dakota. It was like 2006. Yeah. And this dude starts, just a random kid in my shop starts playing this compilation.
Yeah.
And the song comes on, and I'm like, what the who is that?
Yeah.
And he goes, it's Jawbreaker. And I was like, dude, you have just given me back a piece of my life that I spent decades trying to find.
Yeah.
So it was crazy.
No, so wait, hang on. Before we move from that. So my favorite band of all time is called 15.
Okay.
And a lot of people haven't heard them, but they're compared to Jawbreaker.
Okay.
Like people will say that Jawbreaker and 15 sound very similar.
15, huh?
So you should check them out for sure.
You ever heard Ryan's Hope?
By name.
Okay.
The name sounds familiar.
If you like Rise Against, you'll like Ryan's Hope because they've got that screaming. I'm still 10-foot pole. God,
nice.
Okay, so 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
But I was listening to this other dude, and I was like, God, this sounds so familiar.
Oh, Pulley? Yeah.
And I was just like, why do I like this so much?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's just so familiar. And I looked it up, and it was like, oh, this guy was from 10-foot pole.
Yeah, because he left. But see, what's funny is 10-foot pole. So the guitarist took over vocals for 10-foot pole after Scott left. Yeah. And it's still great. Yeah. Like some of the best 10-foot pole songs, I think, came after Scott left and started Pulley.
See, I don't know who Scott is.
He's the singer. He was the original singer for 10-foot pole. He was also on the Dodgers.
Let me level with you. I was the kind of guy that I listened. The music has obviously fueled my life.
Right.
Most of my life. I mean, from a very young age.
Right.
But for whatever reason, it's whatever's coming in here. I don't get, in fact, so badly that I'm going to tell you 2 stories. First of all, I could maybe name three members of Bad Religion other than Greg Graffin, if I was lucky. But this is when I realized that this was a thing for me, that I was like, yeah, I don't really dig into that stuff and research it for whatever reason. And I don't follow it. I just listen to it and I love it.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, that's all you need,
I probably couldn't tell you what a lot of Bad Religion songs are about, other than the fact that they're, political and anti, church and thing. And there is, I do see that, and I recognize it. But I was at the show in Santa Barbara with Rise Against, and I can't even tell you who it was, but the member of Bad Religion comes up and starts talking to me.
Oh, no way.
And I was like, so awestruck. Okay. Now I've seen famous people before. I've seen, I was walking through New York and Paul Rudd right there on the
Oh, nice.
And
that's awesome.
And I'm like, hey, Paul, I said, hey, I don't need a picture or anything, man. And this is literally the conversation. I said, I just want to say thanks, man. And he goes, for what? And I said, just always making me laugh.
Nice.
Like, you do such a great job. Thank you. That's it, man. I don't want to waste any more of your time. And he goes, thank you. I appreciate that. And that was it.
That's awesome.
But the guy walks up to me from Bad Religion, and I'm just like starstruck. And I'm like, Mr. Brett? And he's all, no, not me. And I'm like, and I had to look it up later, and I still can't think of his name right now.
Jay Bentley?
Yeah, it would think it was Jay Bentley.
Okay.
No, because Jay's the taller one, right? And he plays bass.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's Brett Gurewitz.
It wasn't Brett
Gurewitz.
Yeah. It was
Brian Baker.
No, it wasn't Brian Baker. He's drummer, right?
No,
I can't even remember.
Bobby something is the drummer.
Okay.
Brian Baker was the one. Brian Baker used to play in Minor Threat.
It might have been Brian Baker.
Okay.
But anyway, so embarrassing to see. I mean, I idolize that band, but I'm embarrassed to say I can't name them, all of them. I can't. I can't put a name to a face other than Greg.
Yeah.
And so we're in Austin 2 years ago, and I'm up there for a show for Bad Religion, and we have dinner. It's at Stubbs. And finish our dinner. We're outside just kind of hanging out, waiting. We were pretty early, and like 3 members come out from Bad Religion. Nice. And I recognize them. I recognize Greg Bentley. Graffin wasn't with them, but I recognized them, and I immediately, I almost fainted.
Oh, wow.
Because I was just like, I know who that is. I know his name, which is a rarity for me.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, go. Like they were crossing the street to go to a bar. And I was like, I can't do it.
Right.
I'm like, I can talk to Paul Rudd. I can talk to, all these, people that I've seen. I'm like, I can talk to high level individuals in the, military and stuff like that. Like it's nobody's business. I'm like, yeah, sure. No problem. I can be on air. I can be on camera. I've done all that stuff.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it, man. I was no.
Is it because of the respect that you hold for them? Okay.
And it's like, I don't know what I would say other than like probably the same thing they've always heard. Like, dude, your music rocks.
Right.
It has gotten me through some hard times, some great times. Like I've been listening to it since I was in 5th grade, man. I was like 10 years old.
Right.
Like 30 years of my life or more than.
Right.
And I'm like, I wouldn't know what to say that would even and I don't even know if I could tell. I'd probably get their names wrong or be like, hey, what's up, Gene? Yeah.
Yeah, you get all starstruck.
Who is this? Yeah, dude, I just couldn't do it. And I wanted to more than anything. I wanted to just be like, dude, I'm just an everyday guy. And I'm so thankful for what you guys do. Yeah.
Well, I think that answers my question about what was the most influential band for you personally.
Oh, Bad Religion.
Maybe Bad Religion, hands down. Yeah.
Hands down. Because it opened the door for Lagwagon, for Rancid, for No Effects, for everything that we've been talking about. And, and to this day, still, like, hands down. Like, absolutely.
See, and that's, to me, what really makes it a good, not just a good band, but that's how you know it's affecting you personally. Because there's a lot of bands that when they first come out, or at least when I first started listening, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard. I have to get everything on. Yeah. And that lasts about a year. And then I will never go back again and listen to it again.
Yeah.
And I'm totally fine with that. Like it was a phase, but then there's bands that have been with me since I was 13, 14 years old that to this day I can still put it on. And it's just as good as it was when I heard it 30 years ago. You know? So I mean that's
100%.
Yeah, exactly. So
I got Suffer on vinyl, man, and I'm telling we have a little mini system in the bedroom that's like where we just chill back on the bed and just listen to it, and it's so good, so good.
Nice.
So
that's awesome. Is that your favorite Bad Religion album? Is Suffer?
I have to say yes, because I mean I'm one of those guys that I don't like to pick favorites because there's so many. I mean I love Against the Grain, love Generator, and there's so many great ones. I was listening to I think All Ages in the car the other day, which is a big live a bunch of stuff. Yep. There's so many good songs, and then like Empire Strikes First. You know what I mean?
Oh
that. Yeah. Oh my God! Like at first that was an album that I was like, eh. And then the more I listened to it, I was like, huh. And then when I saw them with like, they opened with the Aperture, I think is what the name of the first opening is. But they opened with that in Santa Barbara, big, huge, like curtain of the Crossbuster with red lighting and stuff. And it was just them. Doom, 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 doom.
Yeah. See,
and I mean, you're feeling it. And it was and then they jumped right into Sinister Rouge, and it was nice. And that was it. I was like, album is amazing, but I still have to go back to Suffer because that was so influential to me in 5th grade that it just opened my mind.
So here's something that this might I don't know why this is. This might kind of blow your mind a little bit. It does most Bad Religion fans, because most Bad Religion fans do cite Suffer as at least in their top 3 favorite albums. Like when I ask them, it's not even in there for me, man.
Yeah,
I don't know why. I don't know.
What was your first? You said it was Stranger Than Fiction, right? Was your first?
No, that was the first one I heard. But my favorite is probably Against the Grain.
And it is very good though,
right?
Because track for track, like. It is, and I think there was a point where Johnny and I argued over either it was Against the Grain or it was Generator. Like one of those were like the best album of all time.
Yeah.
And going back to it, there are tracks on Suffer that I'm like, I don't feel them as much.
Right.
But if I was and see, that's where I go back and it's like, yeah, you're right though. Yeah. Against the Grain, like I could listen to that over and over and over. Yeah. But I'm gonna. This is gonna be our first point. I think we're gonna disagree on.
All right.
I want to know. 21st Century Digital Boy, yes or no?
So this is gonna probably make you call me a poser, but I love that song. First of all,
we're done.
And now wait. Now I'm gonna
make recording. That's it. It's over. We're not friends.
I'm gonna make it even worse. Worse. I like the version better Stranger Than Fiction than I do on Against the Grain. Oh man. Okay. But see, I think it's because that was the song that they opened with. Yeah. So that was literally the first song I had ever heard by Bad Religion. They play it live. I can't believe it. And I was like, oh my gosh. And the riff was cool. And now it's not, I mean, it's probably not even in my top 20 favorite songs by them at this point, but I do really like the song. And whenever it comes on, I crank it and I sing along and the whole deal.
I think I was mad at the time because teenage angst. And by the time other albums had come out and Against the Grain was out, it was like I had already built such a history in my mind with them that when they only played that song on the radio, I was like, this is like not like there's so many other great songs. Sure. And I understand why they didn't. And I have respect for that song, but I did not like the second time they did it on Stranger Than I wasn't a fan. I was like, nah. And the more I heard it, the more I was just like, of all the songs they could have redone, like they did that, I was just kind of sad.
Now, it's probably because, if you're anything like me, it's probably because you heard the Against the Grain version first.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you hear the newer version, you're like, what is this polished sound? And like this, I understand that completely because there's a lot of songs like that for me. That's why I can't usually do like remixes. Yeah. Unless I hear the remix version first. Yeah. I tend to gravitate towards whatever the first version I heard was. Like, that's the best one in my own mind. But like for me, the first version of 21st Century I ever heard was on Stranger Than Fiction. Because that was the first Bad Religion album that I bought. And I can see that. I can understand that. Right. Being the perspective. And I respect that because there are songs that I have heard. I can't give you an example, but from another band where I heard that, and then you go back to the older version and you're like, it's not really working for me. Right. Right. Exactly. Now I can tell you, I'm looking up because I want to find a few things here, but the one song that I favorite all time song of Bad Religion is probably Part 3. Okay. Have you heard this song? Yeah, that's off but not off of the original, not off of. Oh, okay. Isn't that not off of How Can Help? It is. Okay. But my favorite is on, I believe it's All Ages. It's a live version? It's a live version. And, oh my God. It's so, and I got to hear it when they did it. They did it in Austin and it was like, and I think they did it in Philly. Oh, dude, I should share some pictures with you sometime. Yeah. When I was in Philly, best show for Bad Religion ever. I was against the stage. And I got pictures that like I just never thought I would have the chance to take. And it was amazing. But they played Part 3 and I was just like, oh my God. So amazing. But Part 3, so that one for me, I obviously had heard How Could Hell Be Any Worse, but it wasn't until I heard this newer version and his voice has changed so much that it was just like I do like the old version, but like hearing it live in that version just does it for me. Yeah, I'll have to give that a re-listen. I have that album. I'll have to really kind of maybe compare the two versions because I mean I imagine it being so far apart in time stamp, like way different. So I have to ask you, what's your least favorite Bad Religion album? Oh, because I have two that just aren't that great, but not counting Into the Unknown. Yeah, because they did have some spinoffs. Yeah, that one things that weren't so. Yeah, that one was kind of not counting those, but they're major EPs. And stuff. Wow, that's a hard one, man. I'll tell you because every album has plenty of songs I like on it. Okay, I'm with you. No Substance. Yeah, it was not. It's not so forgettable. Best. Yeah, New America was a little better. A little bit better. It was like, okay, there was some stuff on the like it's a long way to the promised land. I was like, what are you guys doing? Like, what are you guys doing with your lives? Right. Process Belief got better. Empire Strikes First was amazing. New Maps of Hell was a little hard for me. Like almost like old school Rise Against where it got really hard and I almost couldn't listen to it. Right. Descent to Man was okay. True North was better. But this latest one, Age of Unreason, I haven't listened to it much. I'm like, okay, because I was gonna say I actually really dig that new one. It's okay, but I would have to listen to it a few more times to really get into it. So it took a while to grow on me. Back. It did take a while to grow on me, but there's some good songs on there. But yeah, I mean, it's like with any band, right? They're never going to achieve the level that they had back in the, early days.
And I think it might have been the first podcast ever for you, where you talked about the evolution and or maybe it was second, but you were talking about like selling out and stuff like that, where, oh God, I forget who it was. It was I don't even
talking about Green Day.
No, it wasn't Green Day, because I agreed with you that Green Day, for me, Green Day was the one that, like, when Dookie came out, I was like, that album rocks.
Yeah.
And I got made fun of by people that knew I was into punk, and they were like, that's not punk. And I'm like, I don't care what it is.
No,
I
is
like
punk.
it.
It is punk. Good. It's just on MTV. So all of a sudden it somehow becomes not punk. I don't understand that, but.
But no, it was it the band with Mark McGrath, I think.
Oh, Sugar Ray.
Yeah, you were like, they came out and then they changed everything they did to sell more albums. And I'm like, I agree.
They had their first album, which was pretty heavy, except they had that song "Fly" on it, and that one was like poppy, and that one blew up. So like, hey, maybe if we make some more of this kind of stuff, then we'll blow. And they did it, and they blew up. Right.
Yeah.
So,
but like you look at like some of the other bands that you talked about, like how they have evolved and stuff. And that's always going to happen. I mean, Greg Graffin broke off and he did a folk album by himself. And some of it was pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
But that also spurred other bands like Joey Cape from Lagwagon started doing acoustic stuff. Yeah. Some guys didn't capture it well. Yeah. Others did a really great job.
Tony Sly from No Use for a Name had an acoustic album. The guy from Avail. Do you know the band Avail?
Yeah.
Tim something. He had an acoustic album too, like a folksy, almost kind of bluegrassy.
Some of it's good, some of it's not good. But there's a song, "Burden of Proof," and I forget the other one that goes along with that. But Joey Cape does it, and it's amazing. Yeah, God, his voice is so haunting. Yeah, just like Briggs, like when he's doing his folk stuff, it's just
they're it's good. And and I don't knock bands when they want to stretch and spread their wings and do some other things. I'm not that guy. You know what I mean?
Well, there's been times with like Bad Religion where I'm just like, okay, these are the same chords. So you do have to, I mean, they are, there's so many that are so close that I'm just like,
dude, there was
a stretch.
Did you ever listen to probably in the last year or two, Fat Mike from NoFX had a podcast called Fat Mike's Fat Mike?
I didn't.
Okay, so one of the first episodes he had, I think it was Jay Bentley, who I think he's the bass player for Bad Religion. Yeah, but he was on there, and he totally called him out, and he's like, why did you steal this bass line? Because they're label mates, right? Like. NoFX is on Epitaph and the whole deal. He goes, why did you steal this bass line from me, from NoFX and the whole deal? And Jay Bentley's like, what are you talking about? And he played them back to back. He goes, well, here's our song from whatever year. And it's like, whatever the bass line was or whatever. And he goes, and here's your song with Bad Religion that came out 5 years later or whatever. And it's like, it was exact same bass line. It was so funny. And he didn't know what to say. He's like, it was awesome.
So I'm looking it up now because I'm an idiot. But so the guys that I saw it was definitely Jay Bentley walking across the street that I was just so starstruck I couldn't do it. But the guy that came up to me, and I realized why it hit me because they look somewhat similar depending on the photo. Greg Hetson and Brian Baker, they look pretty similar depending on the photo. And I, honest to God, I'm almost positive it was Greg Hetson that came up to me and was talking to me. And I'm so embarrassed because I was just like, like,
and he's one of the originals, I think. He was one of the first. Was he the one that was in the Circle Jerks?
Yes, I believe he was.
Okay.
He was a guitarist, so but anyway.
All right. That's cool, man. It's fun I love talking punk rock. So how about this one? What's the most recent band or artist that you just got into and like something that you were like, oh, this is awesome and I need to start listening to more of this?
Most recently we went and saw Weezer for the first time. Okay. And I've wanted to see them forever. And they're such a great show, but I've been listening to them since the Blue album, right? In middle school, junior high. And, I've just been back on a kick of like, just like doing a lot of their stuff I'm going to pull up my Spotify just so I can tell you. There's so many different things, but
yeah, this is an open note test, dude. So you're totally good.
Yeah, I'm going to say that, but that's not somebody new.
Okay.
You ever heard Ben Harper?
He's
like got a Jack Johnson vibe to him.
Yeah.
So I started getting into him a bit.
Okay.
A band called Dispatch. So these are like kind of like, this is like kind of reggae, like chill stuff.
I can't remember who it was now, but somebody else I had on here mentioned that band.
Yeah, they're pretty good, man. Let's see here. Oh, you know what? I will give you this. So my kids are into Bad Omens, and they had me start listening to them. I like a lot of their stuff. This is going to give me a flashback from high school when I said I liked Green Day and people made fun of me. Do you want to know who I got into?
The Offspring.
No.
Oh, I was trying to pick
who I got into that's new-ish. My daughter and wife went and saw her in Philly before she blew up, and the tickets were like maybe $30 to $50, and now they're thousands. Billie Eilish.
Okay.
If you and I didn't have respect for her until recently when my wife was like, "Oh, check out the Tiny Desk concert from NPR on Billie," and I listened, and I was like. Up to that point, I'm like, who is this chick that can't articulate her mouth at all or open it? She like does this whisper singing.
Yeah.
You know, she doesn't open her mouth. She doesn't do anything because I'll go back to like, I love Jewel.
Oh yeah.
Like old school. And we've seen her many times and
nice.
Oh my God, like that woman can belt some that will make your balls drop again.
Yeah.
And when Kristen, my wife, had me listen to the Tiny Desk concert for Billie, that's when I was like, okay, everything I've thought of this person up to this point, which I really hadn't. It was just like my kid, my daughter and my wife liked her. And I was like, okay, some of it's kind of catchy. She's got some good bass stuff.
Right.
But when I listened to her, I have respect for people that can hit notes like they're in a recording studio being auto-tuned, which I hate.
Yeah.
But when they can hit that stuff, like for example, when I took my son and my daughter to Bad Religion in Austin, Tyler, my oldest, was like, Dad, he's like, it's amazing how much Greg Graffin sounds like he does, like he's on the album.
Yep.
And I said, that's called real singing.
Right.
So when I heard Billie, when I heard Billie doing her thing, I was like, it's a talent that she has to be able to sing low and not really have to open up her mouth and raise her vocals. It's like, wow. Yeah. So that was a big one for me that I've been listening to a lot, like ridiculous amounts. And
so hang on. So with her, I just recently started listening at all to her because I couldn't get past what she looked like in just about every picture I would ever see. She'd have her eyes rolling up in her head. She's got this derpy look on her face. Like, it's like, they're taking your picture right now, right? For the album cover. Like, what are you doing? Like,
she's
people always
fun.
get mad at me. They're like, oh, that's just her style, man. Leave her alone. I was like, her style is to look like she's dead. Like, what is she doing? But vocally and singing, I mean, she's very talented.
She's good.
Yeah.
She's good. I got to mention this because you probably haven't heard. Well, maybe you have. AM Taxi.
Nope.
Oh, you got to look up AM Taxi. Specifically, The Mistake is the song you need. Okay. And I say this because I was in New York City shopping in some random store and it came on and I was like, let me people use Shazam.
Shazam, yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, this is great. Also in Philly, Dave House opened for Bad Religion. He's amazing. You should look him up. But there was another one that I started listening to because that was going back to your original question. So I have to admit, yes, Billie Eilish. And then
no shame.
No shame. Oh, dude. Sorry, another sidebar. Torn Palk. TORN, second word PALK. Look up Boring Day by Torn Palk. And you'll thank me later for that one.
All right.
I'm telling you. Okay, so focusing. It is, oh my God, where is it? Who was I was just, and they just came to town and I missed them. I have so much music in here. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It is a ska-ish female vocalist.
Newer or older?
New-ish. New enough for me that I just found them.
Interrupters?
It is the Interrupters. Thank you.
Yeah.
So great.
Yeah. Yeah, they're good
Oh,
stuff.
I love her.
Okay.
Yeah. So I just discovered Interrupters, and I was just like, yeah, these guys are awesome. So,
yeah. I like when they bring that stuff back, like this kind of the ska, especially with the female vocalists, like back in the day you had like, what's like Dance Hall Crashers and like, obviously No Doubt, but you had, there's a band called, The Mercury Project was the name of the album.
The Old Brain. That's the problem. We can't remember this.
Well, these guys weren't real well known. They came in, they played in Santa Maria. They opened up for somebody. They played at the D Club over there on Broadway, where they used to have shows there for a while. Do you remember that place?
Nope. But you know what I did remember when you told me about it, or I listened to it, you mentioned it on one of the episodes, the living room. I was like, oh yeah, dude. I saw Aquabats there. That was awesome. Cherry Poppin' Daddies. Oh
yeah. There's a band I haven't heard of in forever. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Living room's where I saw AFI.
Yeah. I remember you talking about that. It was a pretty small venue. They did very much change their sound. So some of it was okay. Oh yeah. A lot of it was like,
I like it. I mean, I like the new stuff. I like the Pretty Boy, stuff that they have, but I definitely like the Black Sails era is the best for me. All Hallows EP and the Black Sails album is just, that's their, can't go wrong there.
You want to blast from the past real quick? Let me, because a lot of people forgot about this.
All right.
So Late Nights, downtown Santa Maria, across from the mall.
Okay.
Java Joe's.
Don't even remember it.
You never went, huh?
No.
Oh man, you're not cool.
Shows there?
No, not shows, man. It was just a coffee joint. We'd go and skate outside in the parking lot. It was like over kind of by Big Five, but in a nestled back area of that. Like the shopping center behind where Mervin's used to be. Yeah. There was this little spot, man. And somebody found it. We used to go down there and there would people do they try to do drag races and stuff. And, it was late night, but they would stay open late, go and have coffee, skateboard, get into trouble, do stupid stuff.
Yeah. I was never a part of that
sorry,
scene,
man.
I guess. Yeah. I had a deprived childhood apparently.
Well, and these are these little nuggets that you it was like, oh yeah, we did that for 4 months. And then it was like, you never did that again. And you forget about it. And somebody brought it up. And I was like, oh my God. Yeah.
All right.
Good times.
All right, man. So lastly, in the music section, I'm going to ask you for your top 5 favorite bands of all time. And it can be some of the ones we've already mentioned or not. It's up to you.
This is almost like one of those, if you're stranded on a desert island and you had 5 cassettes, type deal.
Exactly.
I'm going to have to say, obviously, Bad Religion.
Okay.
I'm going to say Weezer.
All right.
You said artist, right?
Yeah. Artist, band, doesn't matter. Yeah. Whatever. Rapper, whatever your favorite, I'm
going to have to say Dre, Dr. Dre.
Dr. Dre. Okay.
And I know I didn't go into that realm at all, but I do have a big love of hip hop and rap. And the man has done a lot of great things. And so much so that my kids are getting into some of the older stuff and things like that.
Yeah.
And I got 2 more, huh?
Yeah.
I'm going to say, golly, man, this is a tough one.
It's hard for guys like me and you because we have so much music we like.
There is.
So to narrow it down.
And I'm going to look and see my top played stuff. But
do you remember Brian Slappy?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so his episode hasn't released yet, but I've had him on here.
Yeah,
and that was one of the things he said. He's like, I don't do top 5s. He goes, I hate top 5 lists.
But it's hard. But I mean, if I needed top 5, dude, I'm gonna Fleetwood Mac.
Okay.
Have to.
Yeah.
Bob Marley.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna say that. I mean, because I think I could probably listen to any of that at any point.
Right.
at any point.
Okay, so now what I do is I ask you for 2 or 3 favorite songs from each of those. But if you feel like that's something you'd rather research and send it to me later, we can totally do it that way. If you don't know off the top of your head.
3 or 4 songs. Okay.
I usually say 2 or 3.
Okay, so let's give me the start at the top.
Bad
here.
Religion.
Part 3.
Okay.
American Jesus.
Okay.
And Shattered Faith.
Okay.
Have you heard that song?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I've got every Bad Religion song ever recorded.
Weezer. Okay, good.
All right,
Weezer.
so,
have you their Christmas album too?
I do. Yep.
Okay, good.
Yep.
The K-Rock live one.
I probably have the songs from it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So Weezer, I'm going to go with Hero.
Okay.
Leonardo da Vinci.
Nice.
I think it's just Da Vinci.
Yes.
And I think it's pronounced Alu Gobi.
You got me on that one.
Alu Gobi. Yeah, just look it up. Trust me on that one. What was my next band? Oh, Dre. Dude. I'm going to go back to, well, let's start with the newer stuff. So Still Dre.
Okay.
Because that one's such a great song.
That's the bling.
It's off of
bling,
2001.
bling,
Yes.
Bling, bling. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I got to do nothing but a G thing.
Of course.
I mean, come on. You know what I mean?
Classic.
And only because I love Eminem, I'm going to just say Forgot About Dre.
Yeah.
Like, that was such a huge, amazing song. But I mean, there's other ones, but I mean, I'm just in the top 3. Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm going to go with, it's probably going to be everything off of the dance. Okay. That whole album was just amazing. Yeah. So anything on that album, I don't think I can nail it down.
No, that works. And then Mr. Marley to top us off here.
Oh, geez, man. No Woman, No Cry.
Yep. The live version.
So good.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Got to be the live version.
Slogans. You ever heard the song Slogans?
Uh-huh. Yep.
And then off of his Natural Mystic album, I'm trying to remember the name of the song. I think it's track 3. It might be Roots Rock Reggae.
Okay.
Is the name of the song, I think.
All right. Perfect, man. All right. So now you made me want to, before we leave music, I do want to spend a little bit of time. We'll dig into some hip hop stuff from the early days. Like, so give me some of your favorite rappers from besides Dre from back in the day.
Okay. Hieroglyphics, Souls of Mischief. Oh, come on. Okay.
Hieroglyphics is that a rapper or is that a group?
It's a group.
Okay. Souls of Mischief, I've heard.
Yes. Souls of Mischief, Mobb Deep.
Okay. Yep.
Living Legends, which is going to evolve into Atmosphere. Have you ever heard Atmosphere? Oh my God, he's so good.
Yeah.
Look up Atmosphere, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
someone else recommended that to me too.
Common. These are actually, I just had this discussion with my my middle son that's living at home right now. He's 16.
Okay. He's a big hip hop guy.
We just watched Straight Outta Compton 2 nights ago because he's like, Dad, have you ever heard Ice Cube? And I was like, come on.
You're like, who do you think you're talking to here?
He goes, I love Ice Cube. And I was like, yeah, me too. And I was like, you know MWA, right? And he's like, yeah, of course. And I said, okay, do you want to watch Straight Outta Compton? He's like, what is that? And I was like, bro, just sit down.
Yeah. Do you know Ice Cube played here in Santa Maria like last year?
He
played a free show at the Santa Maria Fair. Yes.
Are you serious?
I'm not kidding.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
No, that's for folks like that to come back, for artists that are so huge in the industry and just say, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to do a free show. We used to get free shows when I was in New Jersey. the base was really good about anybody that was touring somewhere between New York and Philly. They would have them come over and do free shows. I mean, I saw, and I'm talking free shows just for the Air Force member or the military members on the base. We got to see the Kevin Bacon band. So, you know, Kevin Bacon was an awesome guy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Less Than Jake came out.
Oh, nice. Dude, I love Less Than Jake.
I think we had Chicago came out
way.
At one point. Oh yeah, dude.
Oh wow.
I think Journey was there at some point.
Wow.
Some really great stuff. Let me going back to your hip hop thing. I said Atmosphere, Common, Black Sheep's really great. I'm just looking through.
Oh, I love Black Sheep
here. Cunning Linguists. If you haven't heard them, Danger Doom and MF Doom.
Yep.
Gangstar, Jurassic 5, Lupe
dude,
Fiasco.
hang on. You just said Gangstar, dude. That's that's old school, man. That's like.
Man,
dude, I used to have a Step in the Arena album. I used to love that album.
Yes.
So good. That guy passed away. The
did he really?
Yeah, he died.
Oh man, no, because I was getting to that.
Yeah.
I was just telling my son, like, dude, you got to listen to Gangstar, Guru. You know, I mean, he basically did a couple of things. Lupe Fiasco, MF Doom, Swollen Members. They were really good.
Yep.
So all these folks, dude. Jedi Mind Tricks, Living Legends.
Nice.
Yeah. Tribe Called Quest.
Oh god,
I mean, come on, you know what I mean? And then why is it escaping me right now? Not Tribe Called Quest, but like I know it, and if I heard it, and I just can't regurgitate words sometimes. So
I'm with you. That's part of the being old thing, you know?
Yeah, it is, man. It's sad when you see it happening and then one day we won't know it's happening and we'll be senile and or, you know, have like Alzheimer's. And
yeah, I can imagine. So, all right, man, politics. Let's hit it. So let me ask you first, what are you more worried to talk about? Politics or spirituality?
I'm not worried. Probably politics.
Okay.
And I say that because still working in government service.
Yes.
I have a brand and a name and, you know, like I need to kind of represent in a certain way. And so but spirituality to me is more of a personal preference, but that can also be really touchy. But I also, I think I like to think that I talk in such a way in a setting such as this. I try to watch what I say. No, I mean, I'm still going to kind of share how I feel. I told you before that I was a little nervous because I couldn't tell you the difference between a Republican and a Democrat. I mean, I probably could to an extent.
I can.
But I mean, I'm going to try to speak generalized in a sense and everything else, but it'll still be a good conversation because I have views, you know.
And we don't even have to get into that's why I've said many, many times, because some people say, well, I'm not political. I don't care about politics. And usually what they mean is I don't care who the president is. I don't care who the governor is. I don't care about voting in elections, all that kind of stuff. But I'm like, yes, but you do care about things that are happening in the world. You do care about things that are affecting your family and your life and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, there's really a bunch of ways we could go with it. So I've had guests that just want to talk about literal government stuff, which is fine too. You know, I can talk about that too. But yeah, so
I'll tell you that I will probably be one of the, if not the most ignorant person you've ever got on your show. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It just, I don't, well, I mean, you know, you have a lot of kids, but 19 years old, joined the military, had my first kid, like before I even left for basic training and was working hard and then had kid after kid after kid. And like the last 20 years literally has just been driving this train, a bullet train, just as fast as humanly possible. Not on purpose, but like I didn't have time for anything else really. And so I didn't watch the news. I didn't keep up with current events. You know, I didn't do any of that stuff. And there was one or two times that I did go on a, you know, web page or something. And I was like looking up the news. And then the things that I saw were so horrific.
Yeah.
That I was like, no, I don't, I'm going to be comfortably numb, blissfully ignorant. And I don't want to know about because it makes me so upset.
Right.
So upset. And the things that I saw and read just happened to be like, oh, let's look at what the news is all about. And you see it and you're just like, no, man, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I can't do this.
Back when you're 19 or 20, or are you talking about like,
no, I'm talking about like over the last 20. Well, okay. Let's just say over the last 25 years.
Okay.
But, you know, the most recent time was probably around 2018 that I really kind of started to look a little bit, like kind of look, you know, peer into the crystal ball. It's not a crystal ball. I opened the window, I looked outside, and I was like, I'm out.
Yeah. So that's in the middle of the first Trump presidency there. So.
And funny thing, that's the one and only time I ever voted was when Trump ran. I think.
And can I ask which way you went?
No, actually, it wasn't Trump. It was before him. It was with Obama and
McCain.
McCain.
Okay.
Yeah, and I voted McCain.
Okay.
At that time, and it was solely based on he had a military history.
Yeah.
And I believed at that moment from the research that I'd done, and I actually was following the whole debates and everything. Yeah. I believed that he had our military's best interest at heart.
Mm-hmm.
That was about the furthest I ever went.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's further than most people.
And that was about it. And then I was like, I'm done because Obama took the seat and everything. And and again, here's where I had views on that.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that situation and what happened and what I believed happened. I don't know what actually happened, but I was just very upset about that whole situation.
Right.
So
you mean having Obama in office a second term?
And this is where I'm going to say something that could offend somebody.
Okay.
I believed that the reason he was elected was because he was black.
Yeah.
And I'm not racist.
Right.
I have no problem that he was our president.
Yeah.
I don't even feel like I need to say, I'm not racist. It's just that if you are going to choose a person based on their color, not their credentials.
Yep.
That was a bad move. Had McCain or had Trump been black, I don't care.
Right.
I don't care if a woman's in office. I just want that person, whoever that is,
right.
to have everyone's best interest at heart.
Yes, and I'm with you. They call that identity politics, and it happens a lot now to where Biden even said that he chose Kamala Harris as his running mate because she was black and she was a woman. And I'm like, look, that should never be a reason to choose somebody, but you should never not choose somebody for that reason either. Like, it's just as wrong to me to say I'm not going to vote for Obama because he's black is wrong, but it's also wrong to say I'm going to vote for him because he's black.
And again, though, I didn't not vote for him because he was black. I did not vote for him because I was like, I think people are going to vote for him because he's black. It was, it had nothing to do with it. It was listening to the two. At that moment, I was like, I couldn't even tell you who was a Democrat, who was a Republican.
Right.
And I don't want to know because I don't care.
Right.
I looked at it as listening to their arguments and what was going on. I was like, this guy seems like McCain seemed like he had a better head on his shoulders.
Yeah.
And now if he pulled the wool over my eyes, that's fine. But comparatively speaking to where it could have gone, I was just like, I'm going to lean that way because it just seemed like the better option.
Right.
For the troops, for the military, for where I was at in my situation.
Sure.
But I also have to say that I am the kind of person that I go all the way back to JFK.
Oh, wow.
And think, and I think to myself, the man wrote his own speeches. When's the last time we had somebody like that in office?
Yeah, I don't think we have.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah.
Now, if you can't speak from your heart and truly what you want for America, for the American people, what this whole system of government was put in place for, that sits kind of sour with me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know.
Yeah, because otherwise they're just a talking head. They're just a face. You know. They're just, which is really what the president kind of is. You know, and I think that's why a lot of people had a hard time with Trump because Trump came in and he actually started doing stuff.
Yeah,
like whoa.
And I have to admit, and I did listen to some of the debate and prior discussions that you've had about that. I think had Trump been able to have some manners,
yeah, oh yeah,
I think he would have done a lot better.
Yep,
and I think that he'd probably still be around. But
I'm with you.
I mean, it's kind of hard it's a hard pill to swallow. Yep. But he did do things for America. I
agree.
There's some things that I didn't agree with. There were some things that, there's this whole border dispute. Let's close our borders. Let's not have this. Yeah. I think that while there are advantages, or I don't want to say advantages, there are loopholes in the system that favor certain individuals and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there are advantages that people are taking of said individuals or a certain population. While I don't agree that we should just hand it out for free when people are working hard and are worse off,
mm-hmm.
I have had the thought many times where something like the border dispute and say, oh, close our borders. Like, look, if we closed our borders, if we were that kind of country, none of us would be here.
Right.
I mean, do you guys forget that we had boatloads of people coming over?
Right. Right.
I mean, we came to America because we were escaping something.
Yeah. I mean, we're all immigrants in one way or another, unless we're Native American. Right. Yeah. We're all immigrants, but I mean, there's a legal way to do it, and there's an illegal way to do it.
Like, that's a rough one for me to get into.
Right. Right.
That to me, that makes me very sad when people talk about that. And it's like, dude, do you know what we did when we got here? And I say we as the population of people that are now in America.
Right.
Like, don't forget what we took and what we did.
Yeah.
I'll tell you my stance on it, but I'd like to have you continue questioning me, because I do want to see what you have to say and what you're curious about. But
sure.
Honestly, at the end of the day, I wish the world would remember that we're all human beings.
Yeah.
Such a stupid thing to reference, but the Independence Day with Will Smith.
Yeah.
Like the speech the president gives is like, dude, we're all here. You know what I mean? Like, and if some alien race comes down and tries to take us over, like y'all are going to be good to remember that.
Right.
I just wish people would treat people with respect. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm totally with you on that.
We're all humans. I don't care where you come from, what color you are, anything like that. Like, just respect each other. And I bring my kids up to have good morals and to remember that, because at the end of the day, you know, like, everybody's just always going to argue. They're always going to have their problems. But if you guys can just respect the fact that, like, dude, we're just humans.
Yeah,
that's it. We're humans.
Yeah, there's a thing, and I always make reference to this because I love it, and I always preface it by saying I don't know if he even believes this anymore, or if he's gone back on what he said. But there was a clip, I think it was on 60 Minutes, years ago, with Morgan Freeman, where he was talking to the host, and they were talking. I think it was about Black History Month. That was the topic. Yeah. And Morgan Freeman was saying, I don't want a Black History Month. And the guy's like, well, what do you mean? And Morgan Freeman goes, well, do you want a White History Month?
Yeah.
And the guy goes, well, no. He goes, I don't want you to view me as Morgan Freeman, the black guy. I want you to view me as Morgan Freeman, the human, and I'll view you as whatever your name is, the human, because the other guy was a white guy. And then he goes, and the white guy goes, well, how are we supposed to end all this racism? How are we supposed to get rid of it? He goes, Morgan Freeman goes, stop talking about it.
Yeah.
Stop making it an issue. Stop even bringing it into things. It doesn't matter. We're all humans. We're all here together, right? Let's just be people, right? So a certain person's skin color is a little bit darker than yours. Who cares? So someone's a little heavier than another person. Someone's got different shaped eyes. I mean, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter, you know? So it's just, but the sad thing is, like, there's so much right now with the media especially, that for whatever reason seems to be pushing this narrative of systemic racism and trying to divide the country even more so. And I don't know what the motive is. Divide and conquer, maybe? I don't know.
No, that's an easy one.
Yeah.
I mean, you make the biggest mountain out of the smallest molehill, because that's news. That's how those people operate. That's just how it works.
That's true.
I mean, that has always been the case. I mean, they're not there to inform. They're there to, I mean, let's be honest. It's no different than social media and trying to get as many likes and followers and taps as you can. Like there, have we forgotten that? Just because you can't see the little follower or the little like symbol next to their thing doesn't mean that CNN or Fox 11 or, you know, Fox News or whatever doesn't have the metrics in the background.
Right.
They're tracking all that. I know that as a marketing guy, I track metrics.
Okay.
So the more more subscribers you get, the more followers, the more likes, the better you are. I mean, that's an easy one.
Yeah, that's sad. It's so sad.
And so, how can we spin this? So it's going to, you know, how can we tell parts of the truth? That's just how it is, you know?
Yeah, that's horrible.
But it is one of those things that's just, it's constant. But I get what you're saying. Like, and what, I mean, if that was what Morgan Freeman said, because I hadn't seen that clip, but it makes sense. It's like, why do we like, I mean, like I when my friends come over, I don't introduce them like, hey, Chris, this is my black friend. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Just like, this is my Asian friend.
Yes.
You know, it's just like, no, this is my friend. You know what I mean? This is my friend Mike. This is my friend Leo. You know, this is my friend Dee. Like, this is my little group.
Yeah.
You know, and that's it.
Yeah. Right.
You know,
and thankfully, it seems like as the generations go on, there's less and less. Like our kids are going to have less racism, I think, in their generation than in ours. And obviously, the only people that I know personally that I feel like I would call says some racist things are all old. They're all in their 60s, 70s, 80s, right?
Some
like
racist people, unfortunately.
You know what I mean? Like,
but you're right.
But I don't meet that many of them. I mean, I know lots of people, but the problem is people that aren't racist are being called racist for stupid reasons. You know, like
I agree.
Yeah.
Because I should say there may be a small portion of the current generation that doesn't truly understand it. Right. And they're just hearing, well, my parents said this, so I'm saying this, you know, and my parents are mad at this. I mean, nurture versus nature. Like, we know that situation, that if you, in the environment you grow up in, if all you're hearing is negativity or all you're hearing is racism, you're going to grow up to hate. I mean, like, we grew up in Santa Maria. Yeah. Like back when we started like our grade school, it was still predominantly white. Yeah. And now it's predominantly Hispanic. Yeah. But depending on what part of the city you grew up in, you would hear some certain things said and other things said. And I mean, we went to school with people that you heard slurs all the time in the hallway. Right. But that didn't mean that was the entire population. Right. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I mean, we grew up, and you can bleep this out, but I mean, we grew up with a systemic, group that would say, hey, you're a faggot. Right. And it was funny because I was watching this clip on South Park the other day, and they literally nailed it. Yeah. He was like talking about the Harley rider. Have you seen that one? No, I haven't seen South Park probably since the third season. It's kind of funny because they talk about it, and they're in front of Congress, and they're like, I think it's Congress or in front of a hearing, and they're like, you can't go around calling people faggot. And he's like, yeah, but he is. And he's like, well, do you think he's gay? And he's like, not all fags are gay. And he's like, what do you mean, dude? And he's like, think about it like this. He goes, if I am sitting in my car at a stoplight and this big guy on a Harley rider comes by and he's like roaring his pipes, what's the first thing you think? And the congressperson's like, faggot, or he calls him something like that. And he's like, exactly. And he's like, well, boys, do you think I'm gay? He goes, do you think I'm a fag? He's like, do you ride a Harley? And he's like, no. And he's like, then you're not a fag. Oh, and so funny. He's like, and the congressperson kind of goes, God, this is actually making a lot of sense. Yeah. Yeah. And it's the ssame thing as like, dude, like somebody's going to get offended by me calling them dude because they're going to be like, I'm not a guy. Right. I don't align with I don't identify as a male. And I'm like, no. Go back and watch Smurfs in 1985. Yeah. And look at how they use the word Smurf. Yes. It's the same thing that for me as kids, like we used the word fag. Yeah. We used dude or gay. That's gay. That's gay. Like, yeah. No, it's gay meant lame. Yes. But it was just, it's a different, now being the person that I am, I have recognized that's, you do offend people. And granted, we're in a culture and a society that they get offended at the drop of a hat. Oh yeah. So I recognize, and I teach my kids, like, we don't say gay, we don't say fag, right. Like, right. That's not, do I still call my friends that when I'm in Discord with them playing video games? Absolutely. But that's my group, that's what we grew up with. And we know that we're not gay. We're not homosexuals. I have no problem with that. I mean, yeah. Well, gay used to mean happy. That was the original. Fags in Europe were cigarettes, right? Right, exactly. But we take it all out of context and everything else, and it is what it is. So yeah. But the world is changing. My views have changed on certain things. The whole pronoun thing, like when it first kind of started, I was just like, and we have some in our house and people that our kids are dating or in relationships with that prefer them or they. Right. And I'm like, how is that possible? You can't be more than one.
Right.
That's a pronoun. That's a
it's plural.
word. It's plural.
Yeah.
And I was very like that is so stupid. Like, find something else. Find something else, because what you're asking an entire generation to do is change words that have been in the English language, which is already a confusing language.
Yes.
But you're asking us to change all that instead of just like, look, you've come up with slang, you've come up with, axe wound and oyster ditch and all these things for like the vagina. So like, why can't we come up with a new name for something else?
Right.
And at the same time, I have changed my view on that. And I realized that, well, we don't have anything else at the moment. And that's what they prefer. And so I do my absolute, because it makes them more comfortable. Why? Because I wasn't comfortable opening birthday presents in front of people that I knew.
Right.
So for a person to come into my house and not identify with male or female, and they want they or them,
right, or
maybe just because they're fed up with all the stupid, I can respect that.
So how far do you go though with that respect? Like if someone says, I identify as a dinosaur, and I want you to address me as such, and if you don't, you're going to be offending me.
I think that's a little too far. That's taking it to an extreme where it's like, okay, either you're doing it for attention, maybe, and I don't mean it as in, oh, you're starved for attention, like everybody look at the special person. Nothing like that. It's like I think that inside, possibly, I'm not a psychologist, that there's something going on in the genetic or chemical makeup of what's going on that they are trying to tap into that thing that isn't in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And they're like, I need this.
Yeah.
And I mean, we did it like as kids in high school, we wore our suspenders because that was cool. We went through the ska phase. Yeah. It might not be any different.
Right.
But it's like, okay, so really you're going to identify as a dinosaur? Like, I don't know anybody that's like that, but at this point, like,
I don't either.
Like, look, that's kind of extreme.
It is.
And it's like, that's a hard one. I have not put myself there mentally, but it's like, I'm going to make a joke about it in the sense, not in a joking way, but humor to me diffuses a lot of my situations. So I'm going to be like, so what do we call you? Like T-Rizzle, like I'm going to make a joke about it.
Okay.
But it's not to do anything more than diffuse the situation that I'm uncomfortable with.
Right.
And then people, and see, there's that line. I'm uncomfortable with the situation because not because you're making me uncomfortable, because I don't know how to navigate that.
Right.
And so I'm doing what I have been like programmed to do, which is inject humor into everything, because I got in trouble every day in third grade. It was just, that was me. Yeah. But now you're offended that I don't know how to navigate the situation instantly when it's 44 years of programming saying her or him or she or he, and I can't get it.
Yeah.
And I'm trying.
Right.
So if you're going to ask, right, there has to be some understanding from your side as well.
Right.
So if you want to be a dinosaur, you have to recognize that this is the first time society has had to deal with this, and we're trying.
Yeah.
Some of us, we're not trying.
Yeah.
Some of us are. You're going to have to understand that. There's two sides to that coin.
Yeah. I mean, I would probably fall into the side you just mentioned as far as not
the T-Rizzle.
No, just not trying.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not because I'm trying to be a jerk. It's because, and I've said this many times in this discussion, but it's like, if someone, let's say it's a biological male that wants to change his name to Stacy or Sally or Gertrude or something, I will call them Gertrude or Sally, whatever they want, because you can change your name. To me, that's not something that goes against really anything else. But I feel personally that if someone is a biological male who identifies as a female and they want me to call them she or her, I'm lying when I say that. You see, so now they're making me lie just to make them feel better. And that's where I have a hard struggle with it, because I'm like, I just don't think you really are that. You know what I mean? Like
I think that I've seen it that way. And I think that I've been that way most of my life and even in recent years.
Yeah.
But I've started to, I think, disassociate it and make it no more than what you just said before that, which is a name. So like I don't go by Ryan anymore. I go by G Zizzle, a nickname. Well, let's just say I just go by my middle name, Gabriel.
Okay.
And so you're like, okay, cool. So I'll call you Gabe. Is that cool? Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
But now I've started to disassociate and go, okay, well, you don't go by her, you go by him. Like, okay, fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a word, because honestly, at the end of the day, what is a penis? How do we know that we're not driving our penises on the trees, not our cars on the roads? It's just words. It's that we made up. But
true. But words do have meaning.
They can mean anything. And that's my point is if you're asking an entire world to change their thought and their viewpoint to make you comfortable, while I can respect you being an uncomfortable individual, you have to, you have to meet us halfway somewhere. Right. I'm not saying that we're not, but I have seen many instances where they're just offended because people slip up or they get, tripped up or whatever, because 44 years of programming says that you have long hair and breasts, you're a female. Right. I'm sorry. You can't blame me for that. That is what I was raised on. And if I grew up on the other side of the world, it might be something different.
Yeah. But do you see that as 44 years of training, or just what is a biological reality?
I see it as training.
Okay.
These
people have been males for all this time, but you've been trained to say that they're female because even though that hasn't been true.
Well, how deep do you want to get into nature versus nurture? I mean, when we talk about enculturation and the blending of societies and different, I mean, I think one of the things that you guys talked about was like abortion and stuff like that. And in a village somewhere in the middle of nowhere that had no contact with the outside world, it's okay for them to kill their children. Yeah. And you're like, no. Like going through like the humanities and stuff like that, you're taught a lot of different things, and respecting viewpoints and understanding that cultures and things don't believe what we believe. I mean, in some societies, it's okay to eat cats. We keep them as house pets. Right. So it is. I don't think it's just a biological, because we came to understand what words mean, and they do have meaning. And we came to understand male versus female. And while that is an absolute and it's a scientific, biological situation, sometimes it's just words. And we know words can be very powerful. Sure. So for me, it's looking at it and going, well, it's going to take some reprogramming. It's going to take some different type. I mean, come on. The human race is still very young. Yes. Yeah, I would say 6 to 8,000 years. Young. Yeah. I mean, if we want to talk about the infinite universe and the fact that there is possible life out there somewhere in the universe, it's very possible in my mind that there is a species that is so far advanced and evolved that there is no more male female. Sure. It's very possible that they have visited us, or they are here now. I don't think they are. I think that they came and took one look and they're like, we're out. Like you guys when you guys started like taking pictures of your food. Nah. Yeah, that was the end. You guys went down the other. You guys went the other way. We saw that and went, we're not doing that. We're going to keep pushing technology. We're going to keep going, Right. Like, and again. Yeah, but I guess like if there was a thing, we could be evolving. Yeah, but if there was a being, let's say we found one, let's say here on Earth, we were doing some research, we were digging into some caves, and we came across these creatures we have never seen on Earth before, and they were very humanoid. They walked upright, they had a language, they could think, all this stuff, but they literally had, like, let's say no sex organs, or they had like their chromosomes were, let's say they had like PQ chromosomes as opposed to X and Y, right? And like there was this totally different species of creature that we find. That, to me, that's still scientific. So then you can say, no, these creatures seem to be neither male nor female because they don't have any genitalia at all, but yet they do reproduce somehow. And of course, that's when you start studying them and figuring out what's going on, right? And I don't disagree with that, but take that and slingshot it 200,000 years, and now you have created words, you've created something behind a science, and now there's a category. So on that other end of the spectrum, what we're talking about is, we are male and female. And yes, when I see tits and a vagina, it's a female. That's what we have been bred and raised and taught. That's a category. So, I mean, it is what it is. And my point was, if you were born that way and you were biologically a female, but you don't identify, you got to cut some folks a little bit of slack if they see you in the locker room and think that there's a female in the men's locker room. You're talking about years and hundreds of years of this is how we've been programmed. It's not okay to have a female in the locker room, men's locker room. You know, that's where we were at.
So how do you feel about that though? Like if you had, I know you said your daughter's an adult now, but if, let's say she's in 6th or 7th grade, 8th grade, and then at her school, there is a biological male who identifies as a female, and the school is letting him shower in the locker rooms with the females. Are you like, hey, you know, that's what he identifies as. I guess it's good to go. So
I would like to think I'm a pretty progressive parent. And I think that I'm a very, I spend a lot of time on my own head sometimes. And I think I tried to think outside the box, and I'm not joking when I say this. I think society, we kind of screwed ourselves a long time ago. Yeah. I mean, we did. And it goes back to my thought of like, if we could just all respect each other as human beings, is there really a problem with people? Like, what if society was different and you could have male and female bathrooms, showers, things like that. And it didn't phase anybody, right? Because you were raised to respect, raised to, you know what I mean? And is that possible? Absolutely. It is possible, except that one bad apple can spoil the whole bunch. Right. And once upon a time, maybe that was tried. And then we went down this path of like, no, absolutely not. Males and females and da-da-da-da. I mean, let's go back 100 years. I mean, the persecution of the Jews. I mean, that you're talking one white guy tried to wipe out an entire, come on, genocide. Sure. Right. Sure. Oh yeah. We talk about blacks and the fact that we treated them completely different. I mean, Jesus Christ, 30 years ago, not even 30 years ago, the whole situation with Rodney King. Come on. Yeah. Like, are you kidding me? Yeah. Have we learned nothing? Let me just take it to a different level. 2003, we discovered another taste on the tongue.
I didn't even know about that. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. It's called the unami. Okay. I believe. Unami. Yeah. Oh, umami, U-M-A-M-I. And it's like the savory, meaty taste, like if you were eating a juicy steak. Completely new taste. Yeah. In 2003? Like, are you serious? Like, we just figured this out? The tongue's been around with us forever.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's definitely, I think that we are definitely discovering new things. We're learning new things. But like in the example of the taste bud, that taste bud didn't just appear there in 2003. It's always been there. They just discovered it, right? So if we go back to kind of the transgender thing and we apply that, that's not what we're saying here. What we're saying is we've always held these certain characteristics of male and female, whether it's Y chromosomes, whether it's, you know, penises and vaginas, breasts, lactation, you know, bone structure. They're even saying that if they found bones, nothing but bones from 300 years ago, they could tell you just from the bones that it was male or female, you know? So, and now what they're trying to do and say is, no, that's all been wrong. Now what makes a person a male or a female is what they think on the inside of their head, right? Whatever they think it is, whatever they feel they are, that's what we need to treat as a reality. And that's kind of where I think that that's making people comfortable. Okay. And I'm not saying that that's incorrect because I don't feel that way. Right. So if I'm going to admit I am probably more feminine than most males. I never played sport. I skateboarded, obviously. I played a little bit of hockey and stuff, but I wasn't like this hugely masculine person. Yeah. Well, me neither. But I could imagine putting myself in somebody else's shoes that has absolutely none of that and feels very feminine and looks down and goes, this just doesn't fit. Like it just feels, and I can only speculate, but I could imagine that would be a hard thing to get up every day and deal with. And I think that there is
there's a couple of points here, but I think that there is a society that is trying to understand that and make those individuals as comfortable as possible. And we're taking the steps that we're trying to take.
Right.
Much in the same way that, 20, 30 years ago, being gay or homosexual was like not okay. It was like, that was so bad. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even so much like, even when like Eazy-E was contracted HIV, he's like, I'm not gay.
Right. Right.
Like that's what our mentality was. Like, I mean, you look at like Magic Johnson, when he came out, we instantly were just like, he's gay.
Right.
If you have HIV, you are gay.
Correct.
That was the thought in the late 80s, early 90s.
Right.
But that's not the way. So going back to like making society comfortable and stuff like that, I see the side of trying to make comfortable, but then the genetic side of it is still, as it stands, we have male and we have female.
Right.
And while I understand that bone structure or genitalia or whatever does not make what you feel inside, by all intents and purposes for science, male parts and female parts, as we identify them, makes a baby.
Right.
Right now. Now, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes one doesn't work. The other one doesn't work.
Yeah, there's
whatever.
a defect. Yeah.
And that could be evolution. That could be something happening there. We won't know for 1,000 years, though. Right. So right now, like, there is this disconnect. And I think for me, the standpoint that I take on it is because I try to respect other individuals and humans, it's like I've had to start asking, what do you identify as? Or I'll just do what is normal and just be like, what's up, dude?
Yeah.
Because for me, dude is binary or non-binary.
Right.
And I'm okay with that. And then once I catch on or whatever, I don't know how to navigate that landmine or that it's hard for me. Yeah. So I will wait it out and kind of see. And as I determine what they want, then I will try to do my best to refer to them as them or they, or this is a she,
Yeah, and I definitely don't. I mean, it's never my intention to offend people or to make people feel bad or any of that. And I mean, my view on the transgender thing is I think it's a mental disorder. I know that's not a popular thing to say in some circles, but the reason I say that is because I feel for them. I think these are confused. A lot of times younger children, it seems to be what we're seeing the most of right now. They're confused. We're all confused when we're 13 or 14 or 15. Those are confusing times growing up. We've all been through it. It's rough. That's a rough time to get through in your life. And I just think because of all the push and all of the, like the encouragement that seems to be pushing kids in that direction. I mean, it makes you somebody. It makes you special. If you're one of the only trans kids at your school, you're known for that. And I know you're going to have bullies. You're going to have the bullies because you're out as a trans kid, of course. Just like if you're one of the only openly homosexual kids at school, you're going to have allies and you're going to have bullies. Just like with anything. So I guess my approach to the whole thing is, and I usually use the example of somebody named Ben Shapiro. I don't know if you know Ben Shapiro. He's it's like a conservative talk guy, but he talks about, and I know this isn't the best analogy, but he always talks about how his grandfather said that the television was talking to him and telling him to do things. Yeah. Right. And he said, so we have two options here. We can either assure him and encourage him and say, Grandpa, you're right. The TV is absolutely talking to you. Do whatever it tells you to do. Yeah. Or we can try to get him the mental help that he needs, which in that case, I think they got him some lithium. He stopped hearing the TV and he was able to live a fairly normal life for the rest of his years. And I'm not saying we need to round up all the transgender kids and start shooting them up with drugs. I'm not saying that at all. But that's good. Saying there seems to be a mental thing happening. And when I look at statistics and I look at, first of all, it's fascinating to me that the biggest group of transgender right now are biological females between the ages of 15 and 21, which is fascinating to me. That means that it's a growing kind of a thing. And the other statistic that I keep looking at is that most kids that identify as trans in those early years, by the time they're in their mid-20s, they've completely abandoned that. They no longer believe that.
Do you think, and this isn't that kid over there is into ska and he's wearing checkered suspenders, so I'm going to do it.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But do you think because we've put a name or a label out there or a thing to attach to, that those that maybe didn't know what that was before are gravitating towards that because they're like, well, maybe that's what it is?
Well, that's one theory. And it's the same thing they said about the homosexual community. When I will say, why does it seem like there's more, like the homosexual community has grown in numbers? And usually the response I'll get is like, well, there's always been. Well, yeah, but I mean, just as far as percentage of the population. But and they will say, no, there's always been that many. It's just now they're less afraid to come out.
And I can see that 100%. And I absolutely believe that for many decades there was probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people that were, identified that weren't heterosexual.
Sure. And
I think that once you kind of realize like this is a thing, to me, it's no different than the blacks' right, the black movement with rights. And I mean, going all the way back to like, Rodney King, and even before that with, Martin Luther King and everything. And it's just like, I mean, I get that. Like, the going back to the trans thing or people identifying a different way, I don't know, because I've never felt that way.
Right.
But I can say that I'm going to try anybody that comes into my home. I'm going to try to make them feel comfortable as best I can. And I'm going to treat them with respect. And my kids do have some friends that identify other than what they were born with. And I don't care. I just like, let me know. So I know. And until then it's going to be dude.
Yeah.
Because to me, that's a safe bet.
Yeah.
It's my Smurf. But the thing that I would just say that is scary is when we start to talk about those, and I don't even know how many people have done that. When and this goes for anybody, when you start to mess with genetics, with biology, and things that are irreversible, like surgery, that's scary.
Okay.
And I say that next. I say as in, and I'm going to give you this example. I got my nuts clipped. Okay. I got a vasectomy after number 5, like 2 months to the day almost.
You're like, I'm done.
5. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But I did. My wife hated me for it. She was upset.
Because she wanted more kids?
She didn't want the choice taken away.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And I understand that.
Yeah, me too. Yep.
That's another story. I don't want to get into that.
Yep.
She's obviously since forgiven me. But that was in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Here I am, almost 15 years later. And do I regret that? No, because I probably would have had more kids.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm not going to get into that, but I mean, I probably would have ended up with more kids.
Yeah.
But in that same situation, I look at it now and go, 44 years old, I finally feel like I know what it means to be a dad and like how to navigate that playing field a little better than I ever did before.
Mm-hmm.
And while I don't regret what I did, I could see myself going, you know what, like had I not had that daughter, I might have thought about doing that. And now I'm at that point where I'm like, hey, grandkids are going to be where it's at. Knock on wood, because I don't need any of those right now. But my point is when you talk about surgery and things that are irreversible. Now, obviously, vasectomy can be reversed and stuff, but it goes for anybody. When you do something, and I'm not saying you do whatever you want to your body, okay? Just like a tattoo, permanent, or it could be permanent. And if you're not even of age where you're thinking logically, come on, teenage years, those are, like you said, those are some crazy. The world is hard enough at 13, 14, 15 to be dealing with all in a high school, bullying, everything else that's going on.
Right.
That's a time that I think everybody can agree that is a difficult time. Probably not the best headspace to be in to make a decision for the rest of your life.
Right.
I can understand where we're at as a society, trying to make people comfortable and to get them, to like, hey, you know what? If you're going through something, maybe counseling, I'm not saying it's going to fix it.
Right.
I'm not a counselor. I'm not a psychologist, not a psychiatrist. I'm not going to, like you said, I don't think we should shoot kids up with lithium and make them all better.
Right.
But I think that being able to talk to somebody that is trained to help sort through those feelings may either solidify what you're feeling, or you may find that maybe that wasn't the case.
Right.
But surgeries and things to like, even into your 20s, like you don't know. Yeah. And I would, as bad as somebody might feel waking up and looking down and going, this just doesn't feel right.
Right.
Flipping the light switch off after a surgery and then going, or if on after a surgery and then going like, this definitely doesn't feel right.
Right.
Like, golly,
so you're against then the pre-adult surgeries.
Oh gosh. I mean, come on. Do we let 13-year-olds get breast implants because they haven't developed yet?
Right.
Like, come on, man. Do we let 16-year-olds smoke?
Yeah. Yeah. So what about a story? And this, I only ask you this because you're also a dad.
Yeah.
So when you hear a story, like there've been a few, but one of the ones off the top of my head was,
this will be news to me because I haven't heard these.
Oh, okay. There was a story.
Really don't pay attention a lot out there.
Yeah. You're probably better off.
I'm sure.
But there's a story. There's a few similar to this. But the basic idea is that the 14-year-old biological daughter, decides that she's a male. She identifies as a male.
Yeah.
The mom, the parents are divorced. The mom is on board, wants to get the surgery done. The kid says she wants the surgery. She wants to have both of her breasts removed. She wants to have, a fake penis attached, the whole deal, right? They take the skin from the arm and they make a penis. Mm-hmm. This trans surgery, I guess, that's probably the wrong term, but that's what I'm going to use.
Yep.
The dad is totally against it. Yeah. He's like, look, this is something we can talk about over time, but she's only 14. We're not going to make a decision that is potentially irreversible when she's 14 years old. Okay.
Yeah.
So they end up going to court. This whole thing happens. The dad lost. And the mom was able to allow their daughter to transition from a female to a male at 14 because of parental consent. Now, if the 14-year-old went in there by themselves and both parents were like, no way, you can't do that to my 14-year-old, they're not going to do the surgery.
No, they wouldn't.
But as long as they have one parent that's going to sign the form.
I don't know, man. That's a rough one because now honestly, and this is where I have to say, look, as adults, I'm just going to say, and the fact that you had a 50-50 split on mom and dad, like, okay, there's a lot of situations like, okay, what if dad wasn't in the picture? Mom would have just won from the get-go.
Right.
This, to me, and I'm just spitballing. Mm-hmm. There's a 50-50 split. We don't even go to court. I'm sorry, but you're going to have to wait till you're 18 to make the decision on your own for yourself.
Okay.
Yeah. Mom and dad don't get to decide because, come on, let's be honest. I mean, did you not, as a young kid growing up, look at adults and think like they are the ones that have? No, they don't, man. Come on. Yeah. And we know that now because we're adults.
Yeah. Right.
So I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But for us to decide what another human can or can't do to their body, it's just like, look, if you're not of sound mind and body to do this on your own, maybe it's not time to do that.
Right.
Like at a minimum, you're going to have to wait till you're 18.
Yeah.
To figure this out.
Okay.
Even
so
something as simple as like a tattoo, like, oh, I'm going to let my 14-year-old get a tattoo. How about, hey, like I tell my kids, when you're 18, you can go and get whatever tattoo you want to get because you're your own person at that point and you have to deal with it. If I tell you yes at 14 and 4 years later, you're like, why did you let me do this?
Right.
Like, I thought I was supporting you. I thought I was doing what was right that you wanted. Yeah. I didn't see the big deal with it. It's like,
and then you end up with the person. Then you end up with the person that has a tattoo that says "no regrets."
Yeah, no regrets. So, something as big as that, and I kind of went to the surgery thing before you even brought that up. But I'm just saying, like decisions like that, I mean, we ask kids, wait till you're 18 to have a kid, wait till you're 18 to smoke, wait till you're 21 to drink,
right?
Wait till you have gone through these checks and balances and things,
right? But even then, there's things you wouldn't say that. You wouldn't be like, just wait till you're 18 to do heroin. Wait till you're 18 to get
heroin's. Come on, that's
become a porn star, or I mean, there's like things that you wouldn't want your kid to do, even if they legally.
And that's moral. Yes, I would never tell somebody to wait till you're 18 to do heroin. I would just say, you probably should never do heroin.
Right, exactly.
But I see what you're saying, though. It's yes, there's some things that you wouldn't say that, but there's others that I don't know, man. Like if you're already like in your teens and you're just struggling that much and it's rough, like I remember what that was like. I remember what it was like last week when I went to the grocery store and I was like getting anxious because of something, this, that, or the other.
Sure.
I've been in bad, dark places in my life, and I've been in good places, and thankfully I've been in a really great place the last couple of years.
Yeah.
For me, it's knowing now where I am and where I had been.
Right.
The mental health of an individual can have such an effect on the decisions that they make day in and day out.
Yeah.
And so, I would just say that. I guess my stance would be is like if anybody is thinking about doing that, I really would just hope that they have a great support group that would be able to help them go, maybe this just isn't the right time to make that decision.
Right.
As much as it is like, hey, you don't want to stay with that person for the rest of your life because you're in an abusive relationship, but you think you love them.
Right.
It's just like, I don't really pray. But I would just say, man, I'd probably pray for folks like that, or at least try to send them good thoughts and vibes.
Well, we're going to get to that next, but first,
how are we doing on time?
We're doing good. I got one more thing I'm going to throw at you before we go into spirituality.
Is that politics? I didn't feel like politics, but it is.
It's world stuff. It's life issues.
I thought we were going to get into some other stuff too. Yeah, but that's cool.
But I was going to say, so do you think with the transgender surgeries?
Yeah.
Do you think that those should be illegal for minors? Just for minors. Where even with both parents are on board, both parents are totally wanting to let them do it.
For minors, I just think you're playing with fire. I mean, aside from the fact that I think that genetically and biologically you're playing with fire.
Right.
I'm not a proponent of any type of surgery to mess with your body that isn't medically needed.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like,
I'm going to say it like this. Breast implants.
Yeah.
We're all dying.
Mm-hmm.
I just age gracefully.
Right.
I say it like that because it's like, look, man, like cool. We're 80 and your tits look like they're 20.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah. Right.
Here's the thing. Like, I tell my wife every day how beautiful she is.
Yeah.
Sometimes she tells me that she's like, well, I'm not always going to be, I just think when I'm going to be old. And I said, yeah. And you'll still be the most beautiful person to me.
Yep.
Not only because I find you beautiful from the inside out, but because we will have been together for 60 years.
Yeah.
You don't think that I look at you every day and just think, God, you're just so incredibly gorgeous.
Yes. Yeah, they don't, dude. They don't believe us. That's what's hard.
Part of me says, I wish that the folks that want to change themselves to look better could just find somebody that loves them and they can love themselves. But that's hard because I haven't loved myself every day of my life.
Right.
Surgeries for minors and stuff. It's like, I just think that that's a rough one. I don't think that it's a good idea because even if you as a parent think you're doing the best thing for your kid, they got the rest of their life to hopefully that makes them happy.
Right.
Right. But there's just so many changes. I mean, it's the same thing where don't smoke marijuana until you're older because your brain is still developing into your your early 20s.
Yeah. And in that case, even if both parents are okay with their kids smoking weed or drinking alcohol before they're 21 and they're totally fine with that or before 18 or whatever, wherever you live, it's still against the law. right?
Yeah.
Like I can't have the cops busted in my house and me and my 12-year-old got a keg and we're getting hammered. And he's going to go, what's going on in here? I'm like, oh, no. I'm the dad. And I said, it's okay that she drinks alcohol. Yeah. They're going to haul my butt to jail because of that. You see what I'm saying? So there's certain things that should be, yes, we should have with our parents, but as parents, but we shouldn't be able to do whatever with our kids,
Here's a kicker for you.
All right.
If 6 months pregnant and you're drinking.
Yeah.
Is that not child endangerment?
I would think so.
But we don't do anything like if there's a pregnant lady at a bar, right? And she's drinking, they're not going to haul herself to jail, right?
Yeah.
What kind of world do we live in?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So I if one of my kids came to me because being the best dad that I possibly can was like, hey, I just don't feel right in my skin. I'm going to be like, I'm sorry. First of all, I wish there was something I could do to just take all your pain and suffering away, but I'm going to give my kid the most support humanly possible without going through a life-altering decision because they might not feel that way forever. I mean, were you in love in high school at any point?
Oh yeah.
But did you marry that person?
I thought I was, but no,
sure did. But you
did not marry that person. No.
but again, I think we can all agree that at some point in our lives we felt one way or thought some certain way or what, and then later, and I'm not saying it's like that for everyone, but it could be possible. And if you go through something like that could change everything about you, and maybe irreversible. Yeah. At such a young age. Yep. And that's a rough one. That's a rough one, man. Yep. And it's sad that unfortunate, I should say, that there are folks that are dealing with that decision every day.
Yep. Yeah.
Or ever.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm with you, man. I think that it should be, look, if you still feel this way when you're older, then we can talk. Then we can start discussing options for you. But
there's absolutely some type of support group, therapy, some outlet, some help.
Yes.
Not that they need help, but meaning as in like, obviously that is a situation that needs to be navigated with, and it's not going to just go away.
Yes.
It's a delicate situation, and that individual needs support.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
The form of surgery isn't just going to fix it. And to me, we're in a society where, you don't like that about yourself? Oh, we could change that. You don't like your tits? We could change that. You don't like the size of your penis? We could change that.
Right.
We can change whatever you want. And we're getting to this a la carte system where, like, I mean, I don't know if you play video games, but like cyberpunk, you know what I mean? Like, hey, you want new arms? You want new legs? You want a penis? You want a vagina? Like, do it. We'll do it.
Well, that's why that's why that whole virtual world thing is so appealing to people.
And hey, if you know what I mean, it's the outlet, go for it. Do it.
Yeah. It's like, I can be whatever I want in there. It's just like,
I could side with that. I've heavily weighed on video games as an escape for most of my life, I think.
Sure.
Not so much anymore, but I enjoy them. But I'd like to be able to like ride a dragon and slay bad people that are stealing from villages and.
Of course, but I think there needs to be the ability to separate reality from fiction. You know what I mean?
It's honestly, the way video games are going, you can blur those lines a little bit more with VR and everything.
That's what I'm saying.
And
it's that movie.
If that's where you want to spend your time. Ready Player One?
Ready Player One. Yeah. That's the one. Yeah. Great movie.
Wait till we get there, and it'll be that maybe that will help some individuals and be the support that they need.
Hey, it could, right? I mean, there's definitely some good benefits.
Absolutely.
To that. Yeah, absolutely.
But for now, I think that, I mean, just like alcohol, cigarettes, other things, marriage, renting a car, stuff like that. It's just irreversible things to the human body. I think we need to pump the brakes a little bit on that because I hate to quote Ian Malcolm, but so infatuated with the idea that you never stop to think if you should.
Right.
It's not word for word, but from Jurassic Park,
it's brilliant.
Dinosaurs. It's like, it really is. It really is.
Yeah.
I think that, and this is last thing I'll say, cause I know we're probably going to need to move on, but, sadly, it's my view on the world is a long time ago, we stopped thinking about whether or not we should do certain things. And we're just like, oh, we can do this. You know, we're in a world where the earth is growing every day.
Right.
And resources are finite.
Yeah.
I mean, things are finite. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But when you look out your window, you don't see us trying to protect those things and keep our society beautiful and maintain the earth. We're like, an iPhone is made out of titanium. That's where our heads are at. And so when I talked about aliens earlier, I'm sure that they come by and they see that they're like, no, we're not sticking around. And that's right now we're comfortably numb because we think that like at any given moment in our lives, and I think somebody on your show said this, that we're just, you might have said it. We don't think about death. We just go through life just like expecting tomorrow.
Right.
Nobody is promised tomorrow.
Yeah.
Do you think if they came over the loudspeaker and the notification system and they're like, we're sorry, but we've been infected and the nukes have dropped, everybody has 12 hours. Do you think anybody's going to that iPhone's coming out in titanium?
Nope. Not at that moment. Nope.
But you ever seen the movie Don't Look Up?
No.
You need to see that movie. I think it was free on Netflix. Don't look up. Okay. It is an amazingly beautiful portrayal of how stupid we are as a human race.
Okay. Just like Idiocracy.
Better. Idiocracy was idiot. it was idiocy at its best.
Yeah.
It's better than that. It's like you just sit there, and I literally was like out loud so many times during that movie. I was like, Jesus, we're so stupid.
Yeah.
We're so like, this is society. I mean, maybe a little better, but
right.
Oh my God. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's jump in, man. Just tell me where your spiritual beliefs are. You believe in God or no?
I'm going to be honest with you. This was I hope so. I think I was kind of excited about this one because I think that I'm more of a realist, like prove to me.
Okay.
But I wanted to explore this with you.
Okay.
Because there were times where you were talking and I was like, okay, that doesn't make sense. And I want to have a discussion about that. And then there are other times where I'm like, I want to know more, like, give me more. Esther, show me what you have. So I was raised Catholic, like Roman Catholic, like, you know, get up, sit down, kneel, do this. And it was a whole calisthenics workout going to mass for an hour and a half. But I think that was because my parents were raised that way. You know, my dad went to an all boys school, you know, a religious school, whatever they call that. And I'm sorry, Dad, I can't regurgitate all that. But, you know, the whole thing with you get your knuckles busted with the ruler by the nun and all that stuff. But
right.
That's how I was raised. But it dawned on me probably around the age of 10 that it was like we were still like had to be at church on time and you had to look good. And I was like, finally, I spoke up to my mom one Sunday and I was like, why do I have to wear this? And she goes, you need to look nice. And I said, Jesus doesn't care.
Yeah.
She goes, he absolutely does. And I said, what are the homeless supposed to do? They don't have nice clothes. What if they want to go to church?
Yeah.
She's like, just get in there and put on your nice stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Oh, sure. Oh, I'll just keep eating that humble pie.
Yeah.
So, I went to my first communion, first confession. I was, what's the one after that? The communion, confession. There's another one. I forget the name of it, but it's around the age of 14, 15-ish.
I forgot.
I don't know.
Confirmation?
I'm sorry. Confirmation. Thank you.
Yeah.
So your confirmation. And I did that. And then after that, they kind of let me do what I like. Do you want to keep going? Like, and then they kind of, I think maybe, I don't know if they questioned it, but they just started to kind of drop off.
Your parents,
so
you mean?
My parents. They didn't go to church as much. And so I didn't go to church. But I did go to youth group and all that stuff and things and all that. And I'll tell you this, it gave me morals. And, you know, when I was very young, I was in Boy Scouts. I did that for a short time. but I did the Indian guides at the YMCA. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but that was probably the most amazing program ever. I wish they wouldn't have gotten rid of that because it's such a huge history for Native American Indians and the tribes across the United States that, we took from them and everything. Mm-hmm. But here we are, unfortunately. And I'm not saying what we did was right, but I learned more and had more respect than I think your average person. But I was taught to treat, your fellow man like you would yourself and treat others, do unto others as you would do unto yourself or that you would have done unto you. A lot of good morals and stuff there, which I thought was good. And then I met my wife. I actually knew my wife before we went to high school together, but she was raised Mormon. LDS.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Latter-day Saints. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
And the first question that came up when we were getting married was, well, what kind of ceremony are you going to have? And
was she still a practicing LDS at the time?
No. Okay. Yes. No. Okay. I mean, not really. She had a rough childhood and stuff. And let's just say like me, she kind of, I don't want to say rebelled, but was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. So non-practicing.
Okay.
So we said non-denominational, but we also were supporting ourselves on the Taco Bell salary.
Hey.
Or not even salary. It was, I was picking up double shifts and stuff. And so we didn't have a lot of money. And so we took any handout we could get. And so she was like, we can get married in my church, not in the church as in like a religious ceremony, but we can use the building.
Okay.
And I'm like, that's fine. Because if you know anything about LDS and the Mormon community, like they have a whole ceiling in the temple and all this stuff and whatnot, yada, yada.
Yeah.
We weren't doing that. We were just going to have, and we did get the bishop married us, who was the aficionado of our ceremony.
Okay.
But he was certified to be able to do that. So it was like, okay, well, we don't have to pay him to do it. So we'll do it. And we just let him know, like, we don't want a religious ceremony. My family's Catholic. Kristen's family is LDS. Mm-hmm. We're coming together, and the question even came, well, okay, well, how are your kids going to be raised? And I said, morally right.
That's funny.
Does it really matter?
Yeah.
I'm going to bring my kids up with with good morals, good values, and to treat humans with other humans with respect and to be kind to their fellow man. That's how they're going to be raised. And we almost didn't get married. Like there was so much like in our ear. And I remember sitting at the, on a bench we went for a walk one night. And we were sitting, it was in Lompoc because she was living at her grandparents, and we sat on a bench in the park over there, and we were just like, maybe we shouldn't do this, and we're catching a lot of flack for this. And I said, you know what? This is our life. Like we have to live with the result.
Right.
Like, let's just I want to marry you. I like you. I think I love you,
Right.
I'm like, let's just, let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
We have to live with the consequences. This is our life, not theirs. And so we did it. And we didn't go to church. And it wasn't until our son, he was our third in line. Mm-hmm. He was 15 months old, and we found out he had cancer.
Oh, wow.
And so, and I was deployed. I was in Qatar at the time. Mm-hmm. And long story short, he got through it, chemotherapy, all that fun stuff. And I started going to church a lot.
Like as a thanks to God, because like he healed your son, or
I needed the support. Okay. I needed an outlet. It wasn't anything to do with God. It was, I just needed a place where I could go that just, I don't know. It was just something that just said, like, you need to do this, just go. And I was going to her church. I wasn't even going to mine.
Which was LDS.
Okay. And I just, and I think it was because there was a couple of people that were in the medical team that were LDS. Mm-hmm. And I just decided, I'm going to start going.
Okay.
Because they were very surrounded around family and everything else. And the Mormon community has a lot of great values, a lot of great morals and stuff.
Totally.
Really,
Yes.
really. And so I was like, okay, so I tried it, and it might have lasted 6 months.
Okay.
And not everybody's like this, but there are select few individuals in the world from certain religious groups that always just take it to the extreme.
Yep.
You know, you always got that one or two people or whatever. And I encountered more pressure than I needed.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't, I'm like, no, I'm not doing it then.
Like pressure in what way? Like to become more religious or?
Yes. And
Okay.
Before I knew it, I was like the scoutmaster for the scouts. And I'm like, you can't just snap your fingers and make me a scoutmaster. Like there's training involved. In it.
Yes.
Like I had scouts for like 6 months when I was a kid. Like these kids are going to cut themselves on a pocket knife.
Right.
But they like to assign jobs and make you feel like you're part of things. And it's like kind of I felt they get the hooks in you in such a way. And that sounds so bad. Mm-hmm. But when you are relied on by others, it makes you feel like you're being depended on. You can't let, and then next thing you know, you're like, you got 50 extra jobs. And I'm like, I can't do this. I got a full-time job and a family, and I've got Kristen we had just had another baby, we had number 4, and I'm like, I know I can't do all this, and it's too much. So I was like, no. I think that might've been the last time we went to church, except for like a couple of times with her dad when her dad was still alive, and when he would come to visit or mom came to visit, maybe special occasions and stuff. But I don't really remember after that. We just never went. And years later, like Kristen was still having the missionaries and stuff come and visit and do some teachings here and there.
Okay.
She tried a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
Because I think she needed that. And then at one point, we were living in Northern California, and there was young kids, because they're young missionaries and stuff, and came to the house. Sat in my living room because I was entertaining the fact that, well, my wife wants this. I'm going to support her. Yep. If this is an asset for her and it's therapeutic, cool. Yeah. And they said something that basically was to the effect of, you're living your life wrong. Like you're wrong. Mm-hmm. And at that point I was like, it's time for you guys to go. You're not going to sit in my house and tell me that I'm wrong as an 18-year-old kid. Mm-hmm. That has no freaking life experience and no clue. And I've got 5 kids. I've been serving this country for over a decade. Like, no. Right. Like, you can tell me your viewpoints and how I can try to be more reflective of Heavenly Father and stuff, but you're not going to tell me that basically I'm wrong and I'm not living right. Like, I'm sorry. Like, that just rubbed me so raw at that moment that I was like, dude, I just need to go. And I wasn't rude. But I said, I think it's time for y'all to go. I appreciate you coming by, but we're not going to allow you guys to come by anymore. So you guys just take us off the roster or whatever. And that's it. And I don't think to this day we've had anybody else in the house. I have a hard time when, it's like a teacher telling you how to parent your kids when they don't have kids. Yeah. I have I respect a teacher and the job they do working with our children. Right. But when it comes to parenting, that's a rough one when you don't have kids of your own. It's
it's a matter of, you don't know if they have the experience needed to express to you the right way to do something if they've never even done it. But I mean, it's like someone who's been flying planes for 30 years, and then someone who just started the job yesterday is trying to tell you how to do it. It's like, dude,
I've been that guy too. I've been an idiot like that and spoke up when I shouldn't have. I didn't have the experience in a leadership role, and I was wrong. And I look back at that now and go like, but I've learned a lot. And so I can admit those mistakes. That is one thing that in this household we do. We admit our mistakes, and that's okay. And I raise my kids to like, dude, and I tell them why. This is why I said that. That was stupid of me, and this is why I feel that it was stupid, and this is what I should have done. I should have done this. I like to explain things. Sometimes
that's awesome. Yeah,
and it stems from over-explaining from when I was a kid and stuff. But it's just sometimes we forget the why. So anyway, religion.
So let's go back to just in general, just God. Let's like leave religion out. Let's leave the Bible out of there. Let's just say, do you believe in any kind of anything?
I think it's possible.
Okay.
I think it's possible that there's something out there that did all this. And when I say all this, I mean the entire freaking universe. Now, whether that was somebody that, scattered dust in the wind as they were walking. I mean, for all we know, and this is true in my mind, for all we know, we are a speck of dust in a very tiny, tiny giant's world. Right. There are beings out there walking around, and we are getting kicked around.
Like Horton Hears a Who.
Exactly. It's entirely possible.
Sure.
But we don't know that because this is our universe. We are the biggest things on planet Earth, aside from the animals that we found and stuff like that.
Right. So do you think it's possible that everything, that the whole universe is here without any kind of...
I also think that's possible.
You think that's possible too? Okay.
I also do. I mean, you look at, and I only say that because of the science behind it. I mean, you look at the life that we find in like a cesspool or something like that, and the microscopically atoms, everything, right?
Yeah.
It's entirely possible that chemical reactions and biology and all this stuff just kind of happened. And I mean, just now we're discovering, I look at Iceman when he was discovered back in the late 90s. And then they finally started to find new things about him that we didn't know. We're still so young.
Yeah.
And for us to try to assume that we know all of it right now is
oh, dude. Yeah, I'm with you there. I would never in a million years claim all knowledge of anything, really. I mean,
you're a wise man.
Yeah.
But I think that there's two possibilities. There's either this is the, Darwinism, or there is, there's the science, and then there's the religion.
Sure.
And I think that both are possible.
Right. But see, I would say I wouldn't even separate science from religion. Like I think that I have a very scientific mind. I'm all about, testing things and evidence and facts. I'm all about that. I don't believe in a religion, or in my case, a Christianity that just says, oh, we just want this to be true because it sounds good and we're going to go with it. No, there's no evidence at all. There's nothing. It's just kind of what we came up with in our own minds, and we're going to go with it. I'm going to be like, no,
they're doing just that.
No, I know there is. I absolutely know that. And I'm not with that at all. But I mean, what do you think about, and if I already know you've listened to a few of these, so I've gone down this road a few times, but just what about the idea that there's really nothing that I can think of in our world, at least as far as, you could say things like what you said with the microscopic things in the water or whatever, and say that, well, that just randomly happened. But anything else that's not organic, there's nothing you can say that about. You can never say a building just appeared there one day, or a painting just happened, or.
And I heard the building in one of the other,
exactly.
I think
so to think that something as complex as life and all that is, to me, is just as even crazier to me. I'm not saying you're crazy. I'm just saying it's a more crazier idea than taking, let's say, a book, and you're reading a book, and there's letters arranged in a certain way that conveys a certain message. Like you read a stop sign, it says stop, right? And that didn't just happen that way. Somebody with intelligence said, okay, we want the people to stop here, so let's put the word stop real big on this big fluorescent red sign. It's just like there's a message there. And I think when we look at things like DNA, and we look at things like, there's just such an amazing message there. Like it's a code. Like it's, see what I'm saying? So like when somebody says, oh, that just happened, it just randomly happened out of nothing. It's like, what? Like, I can't wrap my mind around that,
so you're saying that somewhere something had to happen to, I get what you're saying. And I understand what you're saying.
It's basically intelligent design is what I'm getting at.
And I don't know about that.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because it's hard for me to think that it just started somewhere. I mean, like when we think about the universe and the fact that we're exploring beyond our galaxy and seeing what else is out there.
Yeah.
There's so much out there, but what is that? Like I'm in this game that I play, Elite Dangerous, and it is a 1-to-1 scale of our entire universe and what we know right now. Oh, dude, it's disgustingly enormous. Like we think that like we're alone. No, man, not even close. Like have you ever seen that thing where they show like, Earth and then they show like Earth next to like some, and then it goes bigger and then big, and the next thing pans out. Yeah. Yeah. And you're just like, sure. You get out to the, but here's the thing. When we think 100 years ago that it was just our solar system, and now it's like, oh my God, there's more.
Right.
What if in 100 years we're like, oh my God, there's more. Right. And then we realize that our universe is the part of another bigger universe. We're just a speck.
Yes.
And it literally is infinite. Yes. In some sense of the world, or the word, God, sure. Yeah. Maybe. But to think that it's just, I'm going to say this. My mind can't go that far.
Right.
So I that's why I say it absolutely is possible that if there are the far reaches of it and then it's just black and endless space and there is absolutely nothing beyond that. And we can't figure out how it just all was there.
Yeah.
Then yeah, maybe there was an intricate design, and I want to go back to that in just a second because you used specific verbiage, right? Intricate science,
intelligent designer,
intelligent designer. Okay,
yeah, we don't have to call it God at this point. I'm just saying something
so intelligent designer
with intelligence.
So the other end of it is I also think it's entirely possible to be science in the sense of. Again, let's just go back to Horton Hears a Who. It's entirely possible that an entire universe is just a speck and something else, and we will never see the end of it.
Yes.
Because there's more than likely, at least Earth and the humans on this planet will never see that because we're already doomed.
Right, but do you see that as an opposite of what I'm saying? Like, let's say a creator, an intelligent creator, created this vast universe that we will never, in billions of years, will we ever get to the point where we've seen all of it or we know everything there is to know. That doesn't negate that he's an intelligent creator, right?
Absolutely. It does not. I think it's that's why I say it's entirely possible.
Sure.
I also think so here's, I guess, to go to the end of, let's just go to the darkest dark, the furthest reaches out. Either there's somebody there somewhere, right? Whether it's a soul, a being, or whatever, or there's nothing there. That to me, it's black and white in that aspect, but they're not opposites. It's either there's somebody there or there isn't.
Right. So, because what's the third option? There is no third option.
To me, right now, I don't see one.
Right.
Well, but I do want to explore it. Maybe there is a third option. So, intelligent creation, and please use the term one more time for me.
Intelligent design.
Intelligent design. Right. Is it entirely possible that we are living in the Matrix right now?
Is it possible? Yes.
Is it possible?
Yes.
That's your third option.
Okay, but that would still require an intelligent designer.
You're right, it would. And that, to me, and I hate to say this, right? But this is a whole, and I've had this discussion with friends very deeply and intelligently, and you're right.
Right.
Is that person the God that we think that he is? I'm going to say one religion out there somewhere, probably it is, right? I don't know what that religion is. I haven't discovered that one.
Right.
But yeah, well,
that's why I don't go there with this. Like, that's why I mean, all I'm trying to get for like the beginning is just if there is an intelligent designer, and then from there,
very possible.
It could be God, it could be an energy force, it could be aliens. I mean, it could be anything, right? I
think it's possible, but being the realist that I am, I'm just like, I don't think we're ever going to know. And that's why I can't say I go. I'm literally split, but I'm also not somebody that prays to a God. I'm thankful for what I have. And I sometimes I look up to the heavens because well, to the outer reaches of the world.
I was going to say, what are you thankful to? Like, you're thankful to who? I'm
thankful to my soul.
Okay.
I basically, it's something that inside me, I have to take a step back and go, I'm grateful.
Yes.
That I'm here right now today. I'm
Sure.
great. Every day I wake up, I'm like, I look over at my wife and when she's breathing, and I see her moving, and I'm grateful.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily thanking any individual or a person that I worship or anything like that. It's just breathing a sigh of relief and going, I'm a lucky person to be here another day. Right. That's just all there is to it. And
sure.
For me, my thanks and my gratefulness goes in, it comes in the form of trying to project outwardly the best part of myself to others.
Right.
And to them. And I'm not perfect. I have bad days.
Who is? I've yet to meet one who is. So,
but that's where I'm at. There's
sure.
Right now, I'm not saying there's no God.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that I
sure
go through ritualistic.
Yeah. It's kind of an agnostic viewpoint.
I think so. Yeah.
So let me throw this at you. So we were talking about gravity.
Okay.
And I was to say, do you believe in gravity? Would you say yes or no?
What is gravity? What we know is gravity, the word gravity?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because if I drop my phone, it's going to fall to the ground.
Right.
What we have termed as gravity is the pull of things to the earth.
Right.
Yes. Gravity is there.
But could you prove to me that every time you drop something, it's going to go down?
No, I can't.
Right. And my point with that is, it sounds stupid to say, but my point with that is, there's nothing we can know for sure, 100% for sure, in my mind anyway. Like you said, we could be in the Matrix right now. Is that a possibility? Yes.
Absolutely.
But so for me, I try to look at things from an evidence standpoint, right? You're in a court of law, and you say you're a lawyer and you're defending, so let's say it's a murder trial, and you're either prosecution or defense, whatever. The only two people that know 100% sure what happened in that situation is the guy who's being accused of killing this person and the person who's dead.
Absolutely.
That person is dead now, so we can't ask them. We can get no information from them. So this is really the only guy that truly knows what happens, right?
Absolutely.
So now it's the job of the attorneys and the jury and the judge to gather all the evidence that they can and say, to the best of our knowledge and the best of our understanding,
isn't it?
Well, yes and no. But I mean, provided that they're doing it right, it's a good way to do it, because you're like, okay, so we have this eyewitness. We have multiple eyewitnesses that saw this person leaving this alleyway at this time of night. He has, let's say, he has blood on his clothes, and that blood just happens to test for the person who was killed. And, you have all these things that match up, but the defense might be going, no, he knew that person. And then they got into a fight and they got in a fist fight, and some of his blood got on his shirt, and that guy went his separate way. Then he was found dead in an alley. My client didn't do it. You see, there's always going to be all these differing things because nobody was there to see it except that guy and the dead guy. You see what I'm saying? But you're going to have enough evidence to make a good case. So when I look at stuff like gravity, I think a pretty good case can be made that every time you drop your phone, it's going to go down. I can't say that definitively, absolutely 100%, no. But I can tell you, I would probably say 99.9% sure your phone is going to go on the ground if you drop it from the air. It's going to land on the floor.
Because of what we've come to know.
Right. Exactly. Right? And that's all we can do. That's all we can do right now. So when I look at the idea of intelligent designer, or in my case, even Christianity, because I've even gone farther and said, okay, yes, I believe there's an intelligent designer, but I also think this intelligent designer is who the Christian scriptures describe. And I don't think that just because it's what I want to be true or because some Christian told me it was true. Like, I've dug into that too, trying to see if the Bible is even true, or can we trust it? Is it what was written 2,000 years ago? All that stuff. So that's where I stand.
What did you find?
Oh, a voice from heaven told me, Ryan, it's true. No, but you don't, because that is something I would love to, I wanted to bring this up at some point, but I think it's like, if we get into it, I'll bring it up, because it is something that I can, and it just reminded me of the book, the Bible. I'll go into that. I don't want to derail you. No, that's where I was going.
Well, and I don't disagree with what you're saying. In the sense that, like, yes, you're right. We're never going to know for sure. We're not like, and there's no proof right now, right? There isn't. Like, you die, that's it. Nobody's ever come back and said, I was right.
Right.
I was right.
Well, there's no direct
for 6 years.
Yeah,
but
direct proof. Yeah, exactly.
But there isn't. I mean, yeah. Right. So we're going off of
circumstantial evidence.
Circumstantial evidence.
Right.
So let's just say every single man, woman, child is killed. Everything is gone except the Harry Potter series, one copy. In 500,000 years, is that God now? Are they going to try to recreate that? I wouldn't think so. But what are the chances that, right? And I'm not using this against you, but what you just said, the only two people that knew what happened truly was there. You guys talked about like it wasn't the Rodney King beating, but what happened, I think, in Georgia with the gentleman, the police officer.
George Floyd?
I think, I wasn't going to bring super names into it, but just the situation.
Right.
Wasn't going to try to go right there to it.
Yeah.
What happened with George Floyd? Right.
Sure.
I internally with my family, I was like, look, nobody knows what happens.
Right.
Like truly happened, except the people that were right there.
Right.
From start to finish.
Yep.
And even then, it's like a math problem. There's so many variables. I like to say it's like bass fishing, right? You got the right lure, but the wrong color. You got the right water temperature, but the wrong line. You got the right spot, but the wrong. So many things, right? So when you think about it, even the people that were there from start to finish don't know, was there a history there? Was there a call that was made? Was there something else? So you don't know. You just don't know. Right. So when I look at that and I think back to something like the Bible, do we really, really know? Because none of us were there.
Right.
For all we know, there was a situation and somebody started to transcribe that, or there was the guy that had the most followers. Wow. Do we see that come in social media? Right. Is that it? I have to ask, is that kind of like blasphemous? The fact that now we're calling social media having followers. I mean, Jesus had followers.
Right.
Okay. So
hang on. Let me stop you there because I don't. Yeah, no, it's.
But my point, it is. It's a little joke. Anyway,
no,
my point is that
these are good points you're bringing up.
What if that book, wasn't the first book?
Sure.
What if it was something else? What if it was? You know what I mean? So there's so many.
No, absolutely. And I'm going to say this really briefly because again, we don't have time to go into this, but with the George Floyd thing. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that is a perfect example of when that story first broke.
Yeah,
the media either presented what they only what they knew, or they only presented what they wanted us to know. Either way, the entire country made up their mind about that case from that moment of seeing that video. And now, years later, now that more evidence is coming out, there's a lot of things that are changing for people now about that case because of evidence. And they're actually seeing things that they didn't have before.
I'm still going to reserve judgment because in another 50 years,
you might get more information. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Which,
so when we go back,
to me, in my mind, it begs the question, like, are we too quick to pass
100%.
judgment?
100%,
whether it's through the legal system or not, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So, and sorry to bring it all the way back. There's the same mentality here of don't be so quick to make irreversible changes to whatever it might be
until you're sure.
It's just kind of like, really there's so many different things, whether it's like you said, evidence, if it's a judgment call, if it's a, so who was there?
Yes. So when you go back to the Bible and how it was put together and, obviously we have Old Testament, we have New Testament, right? We have the time of the Judaism and the Jews and same God, but then Jesus steps on the scene. Now you have New Testament, right?
Yeah.
So you start looking into that and it does. It sounds like it's, and I used to say this when I was a kid before I believed in any of this, I would say, how do we know some guy just didn't sit down and say, you know what, I'm going to write some funny stuff in a book about some guy named Jesus and all the people need him to be saved and all this. And we're going to use it to control people and we're going to use a religion so we can get people to give us money. Is that possible?
Yep.
Sure, it is. It's possible because people are doing that today, right? We see it. People do that. They write books
all
in
the
order
time
to get followers so they can make money, the whole thing. But when you start looking into the idea, first of all, it wasn't just one guy.
Yeah.
There was hundreds, if not thousands, of eyewitnesses that we have historical accounts of Jesus from people that aren't even Christians. They were literally just Jewish historians of the day. Well, I mean, if you read through the New Testament, you see that Jesus and the religious Jews of the day weren't exactly buddies, right? Like the Jews of the day wanted to kill him because he was blaspheming in their mind. He was claiming to be deity. If you claim to be a deity and you're not, that's the highest form of blasphemy you can commit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you have historical accounts that aren't even religious that talk about Jesus. So, I mean, there's so many different ways to go with this, and we don't have time to go through all of them, but just refuting that Jesus existed as a man. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's pretty irrefutable. Like even in secular circles, they will say, no, a man named Jesus did exist. He did have a lot of followers, and they'll even say he claimed this, he claimed that. They might not say, we don't believe his claims were true, but we know he claimed these things because we have so many writings, both biblical and non-biblical, that claim this. Right.
Yeah.
And then we have all these recorded miracles. Jesus walked on water. Jesus turned water into wine. Jesus healed people. He cast out demons, like all these different seemingly crazy things to our mind today. You say, well, do you believe those are true? It's like, well, I do. But I would say, well, Ryan, how come you don't believe those are true? You'd be like, well, because I don't have any evidence or proof for that. I wasn't there. I didn't see Jesus do this, right? But you had all these eyewitnesses that did see it, right? And not only that, but at that time, by saying that you saw that and becoming a follower of this Jesus guy, you would probably lose your life. So bare minimum, that tells you that at least like his followers at the time believed it 100%. They weren't making stuff up, because why would you make stuff up if you knew it wasn't real? Why would you do that to your own death if you knew it was phony?
I think there are some parallels to today's society that could be in that same category.
Yeah. Like suicide bombers kind of thing?
Well, I mean, honestly. I mean, I'm not going to go there because you'll have to remove everything. But
well, just maybe real quick, we don't have to go there, but that's I just want to say real quick that the thing you can say about suicide bombers, we can't prove that what they believe is true, but that's proof to us that they believe it's true.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying with the early followers of Jesus. They believed that what he said was true, or else they wouldn't have been. You wouldn't be willing to die for something that you know is a lie. You see what I'm saying?
I think my thing is just the one guy. Yeah. Right. Miracles. Right. Yes. Walking on water and doing things like that. I'm not reputing that Jesus wasn't a man. Let's just call it magic, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
But just that one time, huh? Just that little era that we had there with him.
As far
hundreds
as
of thousands. I mean, and then today's society, like, where did all that go? Like that was it. We just had the one shot there.
Well, I don't know. I think there are miraculous things happening in other countries.
I think that there are, to an extent. Okay. But my thing is that because there's so many variables and so many things, and you have really, really no clue what that was. For all we know, it could have been a cult. It could have been something crazy. It could have been, like you said, these non-believers. Right. But maybe within those non-believing societies, there were, those folks that were, what's the word I'm looking for?
Heretics.
Deflectors, heretics,
Sure. And there was.
But I think I'm not saying that it wasn't a thing.
Sure.
But it makes me think, like, just that little portion of all this that we've done since then, and that's all we got. Yeah. Like what happened?
Well, I wouldn't say that's all we've got. I think it's continued on since then. I think as far as the person of Jesus Christ.
Okay. But let's be honest here for just a second, because this is where my brain goes, and I'm going to just let it come out because I don't know how else to say it.
Let it ride, man.
But this is where my brain's going.
Okay.
Dude can walk on water. He can come back after he's dead.
Yep.
Just that guy. That's it. The one time. We've had no other people coming back from the dead, walking on water, doing anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So why did he go?
Why did he go where?
Well, he's gone now. He's not walking on water and walking around us anymore.
Well, they killed him.
I get it, but they killed him and he came back. So was he a cat? He only had that was his 9th life, or like what happened?
Well, no. I mean, if you study and you understand the whole reason, if he's dying for the sins of mankind,
I get it. But we're way beyond that. I don't think he's saving anybody. I mean, well, maybe some few people, but my point is that like that's the hard part for me is you've got these folks that wrote something and there's all these things. And again, Harry Potter was a big series. I'm not a fan, but it's very possible that you've got the same type of thing. There's people like me that I didn't like Harry Potter, but maybe I went out and wrote a blog about it and it somehow survived the apocalypse. And in 100,000 years, people will go, well, even people outside this Hogwarts believed it was true.
Right.
They, and there's a whole, all I'm saying is that for me, I'm not disputing it, but it's one of those things that's like, I'm sorry. There's so many variables.
Well, here's what we're going.
It's either going to be true or it's not, and I can't make that call.
No, dude. These are
for
totally
anybody
valid.
for anybody that is a God-fearing individual or a devout Christian or whatever. I'm sure can respect that as well, and saying that like, well, you can't prove it, and we can't disprove it. But to me, that's the beauty of the human race is to understand that. Ryan, you're different than me. We got the same name. That doesn't mean we're the same. We got the same haircut.
That's right.
We're wearing glasses.
Yeah.
But that's, and I think that to me, that's sometimes what we lose focus on. Is making the connection and going, I think it's great that you believe that. And one of the reasons, again, why I wanted to be here with you was because I think it's all too often that we don't find individuals like yourself that are willing to try to make a connection, understand another person, hear what they have to say and respect it and go, and that's okay.
Yeah. And what I've said before too, I appreciate you saying that, by the way, because I do try to be that person. That's exactly what I'm trying to do with this podcast. I'm not trying to belittle anybody or try to, none of that. But I mean, what I always say, what it all comes down to is it true or not? Right. When we're talking about Christianity and the Bible. Yeah. And that's a big question. Right. And it's an important question because if it is true, then whether I connect with you on a personal level as far as eternity goes, doesn't matter. Right. If it's not true, then it doesn't matter, right? Who cares? But I want to go back to the Harry Potter analogy for a quick sec, because it's good. It's a great, you're bringing up some really good points.
Well, I got another one too.
Yeah, well, we'll get there in just a sec. Let's do the Harry Potter one first. So what if we took, so as we know, as I know, you said you're not a fan of the series, but I mean, J.K. Rowling wrote the Harry Potter
first
series.
One didn't even have magic. I mean, the Harry kills the thing at the end with a sword, not magic. I'm like, where's all the magic?
Harry didn't even do it. It was Neville Longbottom.
That's what I'm saying, man. I'm like, come on.
But let's take it. So J.K. Rowling wrote the Harry Potter series, right? This is one woman who wrote the Harry Potter series.
Wait, it's a woman? I didn't even know that.
It's a woman, dude. Yeah, it's a woman. But what if you took 40 people, and let's say the Harry Potter series never existed. There's no such thing in this time period of the Harry Potter series. You took 40 people and you told them all, okay, I want you all to go home and I want you to write one chapter in a book about a wizard whose name is Harry Potter. Mm-hmm. And that's all the information that they were given. And I said, I want you all to go home. And then let's say she said, or this person said, okay, Bob, you get chapter 1. Francine, you get chapter 2, whatever, right? All the way down to 40. Okay. Mm-hmm. You send them all home. And then you say, okay, in 6 months, I want you all to meet me back here. And I want you to all bring your chapters. And we're going to put them all together into a volume that we're going to call Harry Potter Book 1. Okay. So they do that.
How it was written?
No.
Okay, good.
No. So they all come in and they bring them in. Now, let's say you put all 40 of those chapters together in order, 1 to 40, just like the people were told. And you try to read it like a novel.
Okay.
do you think you're going to have consistency, or do you think you're going to have a whole lot of stuff that doesn't make any sense?
I think it's going to be probably a whole lot of stuff. Now, have they all seen Harry Potter and they're doing this? Or are you saying this was before?
Harry Potter does not exist at this point.
I think there's going to be more inconsistencies than normal.
Right.
I also think there's a possibility out there that somehow the group that was selected is in tune with themselves enough that you never know. It could be a miracle and have this worked.
Right.
There's two possibilities.
Right. It's possible, but it's not very
but
probable.
Is it? Yeah, exactly. It's not very probable.
Right. Because you're going with this. Yeah. The only consistency you're going to have is that he's a wizard and his name is Harry Potter. You could have the wizard be, you could say one guy might write a chapter and Harry Potter is African American. The other one, Harry Potter might be transgender.
Actually, I think I've done this exercise before in a way. Yeah, because I have a writing degree, so I went to school for creative writing with an emphasis in screenplay, and there was something like this one time.
Dude, the similarities between us is so shocking sometimes. Like, I swear.
This is going to be to my point. But I know where you're going with this, so continue and give me the hypothetical so I can
it's just the hypothetical, but I mean, obviously there's going to be a lot of inconsistencies, and the way the story is going to end is going to be different. In fact, the way the story ends might be totally different than how it begins, and it might totally contradict itself. Like it might open up with saying Harry Potter is 90 years old, and as he's writing the tale of his whatever, and they do it like a narrative like that. And then you get to the end, and the whole story is about Harry Potter as a 15 or 16-year-old boy, and he dies at the end.
Yeah.
Or something. You're like, wait a minute, he died. How can he write the story of himself if he's dead? Like, there'd be all these inconsistencies. So here's my point. The Bible was written by over 40 different people of all different backgrounds, different time frames, different occupations, doctors, fishermen, tax collectors, whatever, right? All these different people wrote the story. Let's just take the Gospels. Let's just take the New Testament, the story of Jesus Christ as they remember it, or as they saw it, or as they knew it. Okay. And they all wrote these narratives of this character named Jesus, who supposedly lived and died and rose again and performed all these miracles, all this kind of stuff. Now, you would think that if 40 people set out to do that on their own, just 40 humans, that you would have the same thing with the Harry Potter example. You'd have a bunch of inconsistencies, contradictions. Well, wait a minute. This one says that Jesus did this. This one says he didn't do that. Wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense. This one says he was 30 years old when he died. This one says he was 87 when he died. This one says he never resurrected. This one says he did. This one says the apostles hid the body. You know, like all these different things, but you don't have that. You have complete consistency.
Now I have to ask you this question.
Yes.
Is it entirely possible that it was all staged, that it was done that way and in such a way to solidify that thought process?
By one person kind of like thing, or they were like, let's make it look like it was written.
People I mean, when you think about the corruption and the things that have happened in even today's society, right? And when you're talking about even something like with George Floyd, I mean, they could have hid that. They could have kept it, things could have happened.
Right.
Is it possible that there was a devout group that was so infatuated or so hell-bent on shaping this mentality that they did just what you're thinking, that they sought that out?
I will say, yes, it's possible. However,
but
when you look at historical evidence, you look at archaeological evidence of all these other places, you would be able to take that and foil their plan and say, look, these guys tried to do for now. Sure.
And see, for me, that's the realistic person coming out for me. I'm not disputing it at present time. I'm not saying that it's not true. What I am saying is that I try to keep an open mind before I start to outwardly say that this is how it is.
Right.
That it is that the new evidence could be here in another 100 years, that it was the whole thing was fake. And I also think that there's people that are able to do that now. They're
Yes.
like, we'll start now and try to make it look
Right.
And I say this because other than the George Floyd situation, other than the Harry Potter thing, this is how my brain interprets the world. You have a football game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say the 49ers and pick another town. I'm not a football player. I don't sports. Okay, the Cowboys.
Yeah.
You're sitting in a stadium, 1,000 fans on each
Yep.
side.
Yep.
The broadcast at home is what you see.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know if that's actually true. We think it is, but there's absolute possible interpretation of old footage or something, or it being faked or whatever.
Right.
But then you've got the fans in the stands.
Yeah.
And they're saying one thing and another. Right?
Mm-hmm.
My brain goes back to the philosopher Descartes, and it talks about, like, I'm sitting in front of a fire in my dream, and it feels so real that I it has to be.
Right.
And then I wake up.
Mm-hmm.
Or looking at a table and it looks square, or what I know is to be a square, but from your angle, it looks like something completely different. It's perspective.
Yes. Sure.
So when you look at the fact that you have the 49ers and then the Cowboys,
mm-hmm.
every single person in that stand is interpreting it differently. But for the most part, they're all going to have similar things.
Yeah.
But then my brain dives even deeper than that, and it says, but there is a very good chance that before all that happened, both teams were in the locker room behind the scenes, and they were saying, we're throwing this play, this is how we're running this, and it was all a ruse.
Right.
All I'm saying is that because, like you said, your example, the murderer and the dead guy,
mm-hmm.
they're the only two people that truly know what happened.
Right. Right. Yeah,
and so
but
that's my thought process is like you never know.
And that's another good analogy. But if you were
the reason I have that thought process is because I have tried to, and again, not perfect, but by no means do I'm trying to withhold judgment from people. I'm trying to not. I don't live this every day. It's hard to do. But we're just, as humans, we're so quick to just take whatever we see as gospel.
Yeah.
Like the George Floyd situation or anything that comes across our screens.
Right.
You just don't freaking know, man.
Right.
And again, mastermind, is there a master? Could it be the Matrix? Could Mr. Smith be out there screwing us all? Absolutely. But there's also so many other possibilities. And I think that's why I'm
sure. But I mean, if you
turn a blind eye,
if you took the football thing and you interviewed all the people in the stands, right? Obviously, first you talked about people at home, and that's a good point. Like we're looking from afar. We're not having a firsthand experience with this game. What we're seeing is a broadcast, right?
Yeah.
But those stands are full of people that did have a firsthand. And let's say, you'd have to pick something specific, like, they're all going to agree that it was a football game. Right. You might have some wackadoodle who's on drugs like, oh, I'm here for a tennis match. You might have one guy like that, but the majority is going to say it was a football game. The majority of the people in there are probably going to know what the score was at the end. Right. And but if let's say that there was a flagrant foul or something and there was a major injury, let's say somebody's leg broke, one of the players' legs broke, and you got some part of the stands over here, some over here. They all can see it from a different angle. Yeah. So they may all have differing viewpoints of how the injury happened, right? But they're not going to dispute whether or not the injury happened because it did, right? It depends. And then when they start looking like, well, how did it happen, right? That's when you'd have to really start getting in the nitty gritty, looking at what do you call them? Mine's drawing a blank.
Referee?
No, the
playback.
Yeah, like the video, like the different camera angles.
It's fun being old, huh?
Yeah, I'm like, wait, what's it called?
What's that word?
I don't watch sports either. I'm not a sports
replay.
Guy. The replay, just to watch it back and forth, and that's why they can do that now. And they can say flag on the play, and I think like in football, the coaches can say, I want to look at the cameras or whatever. I think you can only do that a certain amount of times per game.
And I'm tracking.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like yes, but then you said at the end, well, how do you know that the people in the locker room, the two teams didn't say, hey, this is all acting. This isn't really, we're not really, I mean, even that injury is going to be phony,
We got to put like a fake thing in there that's going to make it look like his leg snapped. He's going to lay on the ground and act it out as if he's really in all this pain and he's really not. You know, sure. But what I'm saying is I think that with that much eyes on everything, I don't think that kind of a ruse could last very long.
So are you saying that there were enough eyes on Jesus in the Bible that it can't be a ruse?
I would say I wouldn't say can't. See, this is the thing. I don't use words like that because, as you said, I'm also
that's why
open-minded.
we're very similar.
Yeah,
we're
I'm
very
open-minded
similar in that mindset. Yeah.
If, like you said a minute ago, since I'm open-minded, if this evidence comes out in the next 100 years that it was all phony and it was all put on, and there's solid evidence that, let's say, Jesus never even existed.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to have to go with that if it's solid evidence. It's not some guy saying, hey, I think there was no Jesus. And it's like, oh, there's solid evidence. No, it's going to have to be really solid evidence. And, but we're looking at 6,000 years if you count the Old Testament, 2,000 years if it's just the New Testament. And as of yet, there hasn't been anything like that. Doesn't mean there never will be. No, I cannot prove to you that there never will be.
Let me take it a step further.
Okay.
Right. And I think this will, I think, and I'm really glad that we had this discussion because I think it's helped me solidify where I stand.
Okay.
And I'm going to use some generalized assumptions here.
Okay.
But you are a devout Christian and you believe what you believe.
Right.
I am choosing to not believe, but not lean any direction other than I'm just trying to get through life and have a good moral compass because I know in my head, in my soul, in everything that I've got, that walking around and popping people doesn't feel right. I'm ending whatever life that was.
Right.
Not good. So I choose to, that's extreme, but I choose to try to live my life right and treat people with kindness. Right.
Yeah. Yep.
100 years goes by. Somehow you and I have survived and we're sitting around and they come out with the stuff that just says like, it was all a ruse. Mm-hmm. And you're just like, oh my God.
Right.
Like, why,
But I wouldn't say, oh my God, because he would no longer exist. I would say, oh my broccoli or something. You know?
And I'm not, again, I'm not making I am making okay. So
yeah.
And you are like, I'm wrong. There's no God. That wasn't true.
Yeah.
Question before I continue.
Yes.
Would that change the way you're living your life?
Yes.
Okay.
It would. Yes.
Thank you. I kind of was hoping for that, but I wasn't.
Yeah. It doesn't mean I would go start killing people, but it would definitely change my life. Yes.
Okay. Now, another 100 years goes by and somehow the Ryans have continued. We're still doing this podcast.
That's hardcore.
We're amazing.
Yeah,
somehow we've survived it, and new evidence comes out that we were wrong. The ruse was all a ruse.
Yeah,
it was true.
Yep.
Has your life changed again?
Yes.
Okay. So this is where you're at. Where I am at is it doesn't matter.
Right.
My life would not have changed. I would continue trying to live my life to the fullest and be the best person that I could be.
Right.
And care for those around me and provide kindness where I can. I'm not perfect, but I can forgive myself, or I'm trying to, for some mistakes I've made.
Sure.
My life has there's nothing out here that is life shattering in that realm. Mm-hmm. And I think that this is it may be partly in fear.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But I think that my mindset is I don't want to hang on something so heavily that if there's irrefutable evidence that comes out that's just like, you're wrong,
right?
That my life is going to change and I'm going to be like, oh my God. And I think that there's people out there, and I'm not saying you're one of them, but I think that there are extremists even beyond what you believe.
Yeah.
That are hanging so heavily on it. And I think that this can be applied to a lot of things. I'm going to go back to George Floyd, that we're hanging so heavily on it that they would turn to violence and rage and hurting other people because they believe so heavily. I mean, we talked about the bomber, right? The suicide bombers.
Right.
I'm going to say this. I don't know if I want to keep it in it, but you said it, so I'm going to say it. I'm not disagreeing
Right.
with, well, I'm going to say, I'm not going to say that a suicide bomber is wrong in their beliefs.
Right.
I was not raised that way.
Sure.
Do I think killing other people is wrong? Absolutely.
Right.
Do I believe that there is a belief system out there that thinks it's okay? Yes.
Right.
But I don't think it's right because they're human beings.
Right.
And that there's no right for you to take a life. But if that's your belief, I'm not saying you're wrong. I definitely don't agree with that.
Right.
It's a hard one for me to swallow that your belief system says you should kill other people.
Yeah. Well, that's when it gets into absolute truth, right?
And
if that
that's
exists.
where I don't like it. But
right.
To hang so heavily on that there is this chance that they could go wherever they're going when they die, and if there was Mr. Smith, right, that says you were wrong, dude, that was not the intention,
right,
and they got to serve forever in whatever hell they think is a hell or what,
right.
I think my mentality is, wouldn't it just be better if we all just tried to live in harmony and just get along without harming another person and thinking that you're so wrong that we're going to turn to violence, and then, oh, you were wrong when the truth comes out, and then we're just like, and that we're just, it's to me as bad as sports. Just like, like there's enjoying sports. There's enjoying sports, right? And then there's like, I'm going to get so pissed off that I'm going to trash and like go into riots because my team, like what?
Well, okay. So
that's where I go back to.
Yeah,
is like,
of course.
If we can't prove one way or the other, I'm going to just keep living my life the best I can and try to, I mean, I if there is a God or a Mr. Smith or there isn't, I think that my gut says living right and treating people with kindness isn't a bad way to go.
And I would say no. I would say you're right. Is what I meant to say. You're right. That's not a bad way to go. And I think even within Christianity, that's part of it. We are absolutely supposed to live and love people, even if they don't believe the same things as us. I mean, there's nothing in there about, oh, you go kill all the people that aren't Christians or treat them harshly or be mean to them, or even as some people try to say that, the Bible teaches that we're supposed to hate homosexuals and all this garbage that people try to throw out there. It doesn't say anything like that. So if I get into all that stuff, no, I know. But I mean, if I meet another Christian who says, oh, I hate the gay community, then I would say, then you are not following Jesus, because you are not supposed to hate the gay community. That is not
supposed to pass judgment on anybody. I mean, if we're really following it, it's like there's only one person that gets to do that. Right.
In a sense. Yeah. Yes.
I mean, in a sense. Yeah.
Yes. As far as that goes, then yes, in that way. But again, it all hinges on, like a minute ago, you were talking about how, to put it all in or hang everything on something. Yeah. And I would say, I absolutely do not want to hang everything on something that is, a remote possibility, or to me, it has to be a probability, right? Not a absolute, say I can prove 100%, but like I said, from where I'm at, I've come to the conclusion that the evidence points in that direction. The majority of the evidence for me points in that direction. To say, am I going to hang my life on that? Well, yes, because if it's true, I have to hang my life on that. Because if I don't, I have no life. I don't mean in a human sense. I mean, a forever life.
And for me, I think, and I'm gonna assume, but when we talked about dropping your phone at gravity and stuff, as you were mentioning, is it safe for me to assume that there is a 0.000 whatever tiniest slim chance that you could be wrong?
Oh, of course. That's what I'm saying. Okay. That's my point.
And see, right there, to me, is that's all that's all people like you and I need to make a connection. Mm-hmm. Because for me, it's probably bigger than the slimmest chance. But I also think that there is a possibility that you are right.
Right.
But if I'm just being me for a second, I don't have time to worry about my afterlife at this point. Like I just need to get through this one.
Sure.
And so I think that you could be right. I think if you're right and I'm not living right and godlike and in what he wants or she wants, there's a chance that I'm going to go somewhere that I don't want to go and it's going to suck.
Right.
But I'm not going to live in that fear because I think that I was raised in such a way that I am doing the best that I can do and trying to leave the world better than I found it.
Sure.
And so if I can do that, maybe I am still safe, maybe not. There's going to be people out there that interpret it one way or another.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And I think what it all comes down to is that, like where I'm coming from, to me, it's a probability that it's a high probability that it's all true because of the research that I've done. And where you're coming from is
I've done this much research. So I don't know. I can be honest with you. If I knew what you knew and I did the research, I might change my views.
Yeah. Well, get on it, man.
Well, and see, you say that I'm going to tell, I'll probably change this over to digital. This tape before I look into it, because it's just one of those things where I'm like, I just don't, and it's not that I don't want to explore that.
Right.
It's just,
but would you say it's a high, would you say it's a high probability for you that it's not true? Are you like dead center, 50% possibility? I want to say I'm probably, I don't know because I haven't done enough research. I've never read the Bible. Right.
I haven't done any of the research that you've done into where it came from. So a lot of what I said was speculation and just, for conversation and a little bit of hypothetical and stuff. But I'm going to say I'm probably dead center and maybe a little bit more not because I'm that realist. Like I'm going to say there's no God, right? Is the same probability. I'm sorry. The fact that there's nothing is probably, let's say 60%.
Okay.
Just for math, but there's a tie, right?
Yeah.
There's a tie between Mr. Smith, Matrix style, and Jesus, and like a real God.
Right.
But it might be a 3-way tie with just maybe the real, because I don't know, man.
But you would say that's not so much based
it's
on
a 3-way split.
Into it. It's more just based on your own personal thoughts.
It's either Matrix, it's infinite space and the Big Bang, or it's God.
Yeah.
I don't know. But again, even with the Mr. Smith thing, it could be one or the other either way. So
right.
It's hard for me. And there might be more options out there the further we get in the universe and the more we know and stuff. I think we're still such a fart in the wind when it comes to the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
It's hard. I can't give a definitive because I guess maybe my brain's even keel enough that if I get there and somehow, and you may not believe this, that we end up in the same place, I'll be like, man, you know what? That's really cool.
Yeah.
And if there's nothing, I won't know any better because it'll just be lights out and that's it. Maybe.
Yeah, sure.
Or if we wake up like Neo and we're like, I think I'll be like, oh man, it just got real. Like now we got to fight or do something that I didn't think we had to do.
Which would be fun.
Which would be kind of interesting, like I'd be like, well, I don't think anything in my previous life in the Matrix prepared me for this, but
Right. All right, man. Well, shoot, that is the end. And I got to say, dude, that was some really good, you had some really good questions and some good analogies that are thought provoking. So that was really, really cool.
And honestly, I don't know if I'm any further along from where I was before on Viewpoint, but I think you've helped me define it more.
Yeah. Good.
You know, because it's one of those things that it's like, I think I live my life the best I can, and try to treat others the best I can because I just don't want to hang anything on any one particular thing. But I can tell you that I'll answer your question. Yes, two people can have differing viewpoints and still be friends.
Yes, we proved it. All right, man. Well, thanks so much for doing this, and we'll keep in touch for sure. So
all right. Well, hey, man. Seriously, don't be a stranger, man. You guys, you need anything, you ever come out this way, hit me up. Let me know when this thing goes. And honestly, Ryan, thank you for thinking of me, for allowing me to be here and just share some thoughts with you.
For sure. It's good to catch up.
Yeah, you too, man.
Yeah. All right. We'll talk to you later.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Later.
I'm so happy that you have listened through another episode. I hope this conversation was helpful to you in some way. I greatly appreciate any and all feedback, good or bad, so please contact me at whycan'twetalkaboutthat at proton.me. Now here's a clip from the next episode.
Everyone came back, everything's fine. During that time, I'm at home thinking, this ain't real.
Yeah.
This is not real.
Yeah.
This is stupid. What do you mean I can't get any toilet paper?
Yeah.
I was at Costco, I remember, because I needed usual things.
Right.
You know, the usual things that I go to Costco for.
Yeah.
Huge lines.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is insane. And
Yeah.
I'm not wearing a mask. A lot of other people wearing masks.
Yeah.
My wife's like, you need to wear a mask. I'm fine. I did the first week. I played along, and I said, this is stupid. Sorry, this is stupid.
Yeah.
I got mask shamed maybe twice.
Okay.
The whole time.
Like by other people in the store?
By the lady at Walmart.
The worker?
The worker.
Oh, okay.
So, sir, you need to have a mask on. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't bring one. There's
Yeah.
some paper ones. I'm like, gross.
Yeah. Yeah, I always like, sure, you need to wear a mask. I always say, like, really? And cover this up? Hello.
That was my thing. I'm like, I'm pretty.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, this is my moneymaker here, people. I mean, I can't just cover this up.
And it bothered me because you saw all these pretty eyes.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's a chick or a dude. And I'm wondering if she's as good looking as I think she is.
Yes.
I can't really tell.
Yeah.
Maybe she's got a bunch of warts on her face.
Right.